All right. What up? Special patron only edition of the Nerd Show. I don't know if I like the Nerd Show title, but the inaugural show, I brought some friends along. So you know him as, I guess this is his show, and he's letting me have this day. Jean Bajlan from Foreign Policy Thursdays.
Welcome to Gene Badgelands. This is Revolution. Featuring Jason Miles and Pascal Robert.
And coming all the way live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, he used to live not too far away from me. We have been on the road together. We have played shows together. He has introduced me to countless musicians. He is the one man I know. I don't give a damn where you're playing a show in the world. I literally asked him this question, and I bet he doesn't remember this. In my last band, I said, "Hey, we're going to tour Southeast Asia. Do you have any contacts in China?" And he goes, "Well, yes, I do." His name is Conan Neutral. You forgot that, didn't you?
That's right.
In all over Asia. And you know this gentleman from the Majority Report. He's also a filmmaker, not just a film connoisseur. Matthew, film guy.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you, Jason.
No problem.
Jason, you really got that "It's Ready to Rumble" voice down. I think you got a career in that, doing the "Ready to Rumble."
This is all I can do. This is all I'm good at that from years of having to be mildly entertaining on stage in front of various rednecks.
They're always.
That was getting close. That was getting close to intellectual property infringement almost. So it was that good.
Yeah, it was that good.
So we've been toying around with the idea to talk about stuff, because sometimes the show we can veer off and talk about movies, comics. As you can see, I'm actually wearing a Toy Galaxy shirt from one of my favorite podcasts that I watch when I'm not doing this shit. I watch a guy that's been on the show a few times, Dan Larson. And
I've watched some of those.
Aren't they fun as fuck?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I had all those toys, so it's just like instant nostalgia high, just right to the vein.
When I was editing that intro, it was originally like 8 minutes long because there was more cartoons. Because I started going, I was like, "Oh, I got to get Thundar the Barbarian in here," and I had more commercials from toys that I wanted to put in there as well. So I was like, "Look, I just got to stop it. I got to stop it. Maybe I'll change something."
Send me your director's cut. I want to see that.
The Zack Snyder director's cut.
There were Star Wars toys. So since we're all around the same age group, and I know it's a little different
level of maturity.
I like that better.
And also, I want to just say, like, I am younger than you guys, but also I come from a backwards country, so all the stuff all arrived like 3 or 4 years later as well. So it's like it's 1993, and it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, it's not that.
That's great.
You know what's funny, Gene, and this might be past you guys' time, or maybe you guys remember this. Conan and Matthew, do you guys remember Jason the Wheeled Warriors?
Fuck yeah, I remember.
I didn't invest in the toy line, but I do remember the show.
I remember it. What was their nemesis? It was like their alien plants or something?
The brain bar. Yeah. It made you. It was basically oil company propaganda, I think. You know,
yeah.
Destroy the plants. The freaking plants are coming. They terrify you with and it was a little bit freaky. It was written by the guy who wrote Babylon 5.
Michael Straczynski.
Straczynski. Wow.
He wrote hella cartoons.
You got to imagine like an executive puffing on a cigar. Make the bad guy plants. Like what? Why is that the decision? All right.
And they had like a plant. They would turn into tanks, and they would have a plant. There was one with a little like buzzsaw and a laser gun.
That was his name. His name was Buzzsaw.
What the hell was the name of
It's like Planet of the Apes. You know what you're getting into with the title.
I didn't put
those wheels run on oil.
That was the first thing with they decided to give you the toy, the wheeled warrior, and then you could add on accessories to your toy. And I think that was the first one where you could add accessories onto the vehicle.
Okay. Sort of like in-app purchases for the analog age.
Yeah. You get like a jigsaw.
Oh,
you can get like a like a circular saw. Yeah, all over the place.
Somebody said Mask. Mask is like one of my favorite cartoons, and I got my 2-year-old watching Mask. If you guys remember Mask from '85.
You know what? I just want to say this is we were talking about that maybe 2-year age gap. I think I'm just on the outside of the bubble of that one of those two. I think I got a BMX bike right as that was coming out, and I moved away from my toys. So like literally that season of cartoons was where I drew the line. Like, Mom, I don't want toys. I want a bike.
Then that means you remember the Pole Position cartoon.
Pole Position.
Well,
whoa,
yeah, all the Saturday morning video game cartoons. I was up. Yeah, I mean, basically from like 80 to like 86 or 7, I think was my golden years of Saturday morning cartoons. So anything that happened in that range, I was perfectly aware of.
Let me ask you dudes this, fellow toy play withers and action figure collectors.
I thought this was the nerd show, not the After Dark show.
Well, if we start talking about anime,
Well,
we get
we'll
to
get
the
there.
After Dark
I
show
have early
and
anime.
the Nerd show.
I have early anime in that opening. If you remember Robotech, that shit. Robotech changed my life, and B, probably ruined me for relationships forever because I was way too young to be seeing such complex relationships and being.
I see.
I want a woman like Lin Min May, but I might end up with Lisa Hunter.
I want to hear more about that. I never actually got into the Robotech, but that sounds very.
You weren't into Robotech?
The fact that
No.
you called it the Robotech shows that you were never
Yeah.
into it, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was aware of those guys, but I think I watched Voltron and I watched Transor Z and a couple of the other sort of Japanese
Battle of the Planets?
originals.
Oh,
Which
Battle
one?
of the Planets. Battle of the Planets, or there was
You know what? Sometimes you would catch a random thing like on UHF, and you just be like, "I'll watch this." So I think I caught a random one of those. But Voltron was like appointment viewing, like run home from school, make sure you see, GI Joe, the Transformers. These were those. But yeah, I don't know Robotech, but
was that before? Yes. So Robotech. Here's. If you guys want to know the whole story about it, go to toygalaxy.com or YouTube /Toy Galaxy. Dan Larson has like a 4-part series on the history of Robotech. But the story of Robotech, there's like 3 different stories. But the main story is there's a young man, and first of all, I guess Earth. How would you explain it, Conan? It's not.
no spoilers. I still may invest 10 years to catch up on this. So no spoilers.
I would say it hits all of the tropes in sort of like that style of like Japanese storytelling. That like it's like kind of post-apocalyptic, and they're like fighting aliens, and like it's almost like the details don't matter because they're so tropish.
Was it the origin of the tropes, or it was already troping the tropes at that point?
It helped trope the tropes for sure. But
okay,
it was one of the ones that kind of like led that charge for sure, because there was a whole.
It's like Voltron, isn't it? It's like Voltron. Voltron was
Robotech was that thing where it's like also all the world is almost coming to an end, and these aliens ship had landed, and all the governments of the world get together and take their resources and build this humongous battle fortress with this alien technology. And the aliens are just hell-bent on war. That's all they want to do is fight. And they figure out, they're like, hey, our ship that crashed, we found out where the fuck it is, and let's go fuck those guys up. So the aliens are like angry dudes in Boston.
But no. What I mean, it's like Voltron in that it was like the beginning of a particular style of cartoon, because Voltron spawned all those other, like the one with the Power Rangers where they had like Rita Repulsa, who's pretty much of a pretty milfy, if you ask me.
Depending on which version. Yeah.
Yeah, those were all old as fuck. All these cartoons are all old things rehashed that Americans were like, well, we're going to change the storyline because there's certain things we can't do. And in Japan, they were pitching these cartoons to older kids. So in the States, it's like, well, we pitch cartoons to 6 to 10-year-olds. In Japan, they're like, well, we play this for teenagers. There's like a love story plot. There's interracial relationships. There's all kind of shit in Robotech that you see. There's
interspecies relationships.
Yeah, it's aliens and humans get together and mate and have mega kids.
They like
That's
tentacles
for the American audience. That's gonna give young Jason ideas.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So
Children now.
If I may, two things. First of all, in Robotech, all the vehicles were hilariously not aerodynamically sound, except for when they were actually jets, but especially the spaceship. So it was sort of like, what? Who freaking designed this? Like, clearly you weren't thinking about like drag when you enter in an atmosphere. But that's hilarious, doubly so, because they're just made to look cool, right? And then exactly. And since we brought up, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, things along those lines, what does Spider-Man, this guy, have to do with all that? Anybody? With
the Power Rangers?
Power Rangers and like that style of television.
I don't know. I had gone through puberty by the time of Power Rangers, so I can't tell you what's going on with that.
Well, I will tell you.
Was there an issue with his nuts being in his tight trousers? That would be my guess. That people, that the censors in America would not appreciate Spider-Man's bulge.
He was always talking about having a tingling.
So this is actually interesting. Way before there was any MCU, way before there was, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, way before any of that, they made a Japanese Spider-Man television show, a live action one with practical effects. But what they did is because they wanted it to appeal to Japanese audiences, is they kind of just excised the whole Peter Parker backstory, and they made the guy that was like the Peter Parker stand-in. They gave him like a whole more like sort of Japanese mindset, like his home, all that stuff. But he also had a vehicle, and it would transform. It would drive up walls, things along those lines, and he would fight basically monsters that were like along the lines of what became like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Oh, it's this freaking lizard dude today. And they did that specifically.
Ultraman, right?
Right, yeah. Like I say, they did it specifically to build off of Ultraman and to build off of the Kaiju Godzilla thing. But they did it as Spider-Man. So they have a special on.
I didn't know that.
I think it's I guess it would have to be Disney Plus because Disney owns Marvel now, right? But they have a first episode of like something that like the rest of it looks terrible, but it goes in depth about Japanese Spider-Man, and it's freaking awesome and hilarious because they were very inventive, and it basically is a bunch of proto-cocaine decisions of like, hey, let's make a TV show, let's have it be Spider-Man, let's give him a car, let's have the car drive up the wall, sure, all that stuff.
Wow. I do recall the 70s American Spider-Man TV show, but I never liked it. Even as a kid, I was like, this is terrible. But
that was as close as I was going to get to Spider-Man. So I had that. And actually, me and Dan Larson were laughing about this. Did any of you guys have the Spider-Man ski mask? Where it was Spider-Man. I had the Spider-Man ski, which I'm from California. It made no sense for me to have it. But I had the Spider-Man ski mask, and I would pretend I was Spider-Man whenever that shit would come on. And Larson actually remember they say I had the same one, but that motherfucker's from New Hampshire, so that makes way more sense. But
I was definitely a Hulk paraphernalia guy as a kid, not really Spider-Man. So
the squeezable Hulk that came out of the jail cell? Did you have that?
Yeah, somewhere I've got a picture of me at like 3 years old holding that.
Not bad.
Oh yeah, I had that.
That's a
that
flex.
was a prized possession.
Yeah, that's a flex.
Can you share media on this multimedia broadcast? I'm sure I could pull that up for you.
Yes,
if you really want me to establish I'm ruining my film guy brand here, but if you want me to establish my bona fides here, let's see. As a nerd,
and the Hulk shit coming out again. I was going through all these toy commercials from back in the day, and I forgot there was toys. There was some Star Wars shit I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that there was a Jawa remote control. What's the vehicle?
Sandcrawler.
The tank crawler.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to have that because I think it took batteries.
It did take. It says it comes with 2 AA batteries. Something else I didn't know for those commercials back in the day. Did you know it was a law that they had to show kids playing with them so you could see exactly what it did? Because before that, they wouldn't. They would just make shit up about what the toy did. Yeah, this motherfucker flies. Tell your mom to buy it, bitch.
It's the only product you'll ever need.
Yeah, it talks, goddammit.
Yeah, what do you need to do? It doesn't. What do you want from me? Go get the toy. Come on.
But it had the double-edged sort of effect of like they always had the coolest like layouts and like tables set up with just to play, and I'm like, what? My living room doesn't look like that, you know?
Yeah. So very ornate, very like super detailed. Like they had like, oh, here's the train, here's the bank, and I'm like, what? Jesus Christ! I got 2 boxes and an angry cat.
Exactly. My mom's telling me to get out of the way with all this crap. You know?
Yeah, get this crap the hell out of here. Only kaiju I get is my dad stomping all over everything with his damn boots.
All the kids who in the cartoons, they always did seem to have like the ultimate play setup, which was you could it was aspirational, I guess. You know, I do want a Space Crusade Fortress in my house. Did you guys ever play those games? Like, did you have those in America? Hero Quest and Space Crusade?
Oh yeah. We had that crap. Yeah.
What was it? What was its real name?
Hero Quest?
No, I'm just kidding. It's like no, I never heard of it.
Oh, I'm sharing this photo. Right now.
You got it? Okay.
So this is you, Matthew?
Yeah, it's the old me. It's not recent photo.
Hello,
me.
Exactly. Me and Dave hanging out.
Mustaine, yeah.
Me and Dave hanging out, drinking beers back in the 80s. Actually, late 70s. So that was probably right when we really. There you go.
Can you guys see?
That is a sick Hulk.
This is Hulk from the original TV show Hulk.
I mean, it was it was in his heyday. That's where I first heard of him. Me and Lou.
So, yeah, me too. Watching that, that was the one my dad would let me watch. My dad is like a funny guy now because he loves the Marvel shit and like superhero movies. But if there was any TV show I wanted to see, he would call me a punk and say I couldn't watch it. Like I wanted to watch Fame. He's like, you can't watch that, it's punk stuff. And then
I mean, I sort of get what he was worried about, but that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Whereas I did sit and watch it with my mother. I guess my dad's just like, whatever.
You're like, theater is the life for me, father.
Yeah. I mean, my mom and dad met in the theater department at Fredonia College, so they were both theater people. So I guess he was comfortable with that if I went that way.
With the theater. I went
Hail Fredonia.
I went to see Fang.
They didn't say that all the time.
At the theater in Sheffield. It was a
movie? The remake?
No, a stage version of Fame. I've never seen the movie. I've seen it staged.
What?
Oh, you never saw Coco at the very end when she has to do the porn?
Or did you have to do the porn?
Or the series, the TV series that came after. Watch that too.
I'm not
the eye, not the eye.
This is Japanese.
Wow.
Man, this actually looks badass.
Yeah. So it's called Marvel 616, by the way, is where this documentary.
It's in the 616 is the Marvel universe. That is.
Yeah. So they call this series. I guess there's going to be a bunch of these, 616. But the only one, I can't speak to all that, but the Japanese Spider-Man one was absolutely fascinating. I knew like maybe 5% of that. Like I knew the Italian Spider-Man, like that I knew, but which is a whole thing in and of itself. But
nothing's better than Turkish Spider-Man.
Turkish Spider-Man's where it's at. Turkish Spider-Man and Turkish
everything.
Yeah, you know the story
Turkish
behind that.
Turkish staff, Turkish delight.
In the 80s, there was like restrictions.
I was thinking Turkish Star Trek. Yeah.
Turkish Star Trek. There was restrictions on the importations of movies to Turkey, so they could be imported, but they were very expensive, and so they made their own knockoff versions. There's Turkish ET, which I really appreciate. And Turkey GT has like a sexual assault in it, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa,
It
what
would
is
be very sort of like fast and loose with the background stories on these things.
Very
Right? It was sort of like either they didn't know or didn't care. This is more interesting if it's more rapey, you know, like whatever, you know.
So I want to ask you guys.
Warhammer Quest is excellent. I agree. They've just released a new Warhammer Quest. Someone in the chat, Mr.
Oh, Joaquin. Joaquin's the fucking
Joaquin is mentioning Warhammer Quest, which is not a rebranded Hero Quest. It is a separate game and a superior game. But they've just released a new version of Warhammer Quest, which sold out within like a day. It was so popular, people just spent $250 or something on it. Nuts.
Jesus Christ.
Warhammer is an expensive hobby.
I have to ask you guys. So Marvel Cinematic Universe is massively huge, and there's some people that believe that it has actually kind of changed the way we look at film.
Never heard of it.
Who?
All right, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes. All right.
But well,
what do you guys think about these superhero movies? I don't care. Like, we don't have to get into the whole like acting and shit like that. Just from like fans of this goofy shit that we like.
I just have to say one thing first. Like, and I think Matthew, you're going to agree with me on this. The OG stuff, like crossover universe, was all in cartoons in the 80s and 90s, and DC did it like first. The DC animated cinematic universe with all the DC movies.
Are you talking about like Super Friends? Or are you talking about like when they came out in the 90s with their
when they came out in the 90s? In the 2000s when they do all the DC movies, but they're cartoons.
Oh, like with the Mark Hamill Joker and
with the Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah,
those were very good. Those
were Bruce Timm Batman in the early 90s and so on, right? Yeah, I remember that when that started. That really did. That was a renaissance. You listen, I feel like the opening that you played is basically like it's like a portrait of a generation's programming. You know, like I feel like we as kids were captured so young. And it like incubated for a long time. They invented the CGI technology to basically do this kind of really amazing sort of superhero fantasy with photorealism, just in time for all of us to be adults and have disposable income enough to be like, oh, this takes me back to this golden halcyon days, like entering the womb again of just like the pleasures that I had at eating a bowl of cereal on Sunday, Saturday mornings and, you know, afternoons after school. And they just realized like, oh my God, we just tapped a vein here and we can ride this wave. Now their kids are seeing it and the next generation are seeing it. So I actually do feel somewhat helpless before the power of things like Star Wars movies coming out again and superhero movies. Like, yeah, I want to hate it, but I'm gonna go see that. You know, like it's like I'm captured. So it's insidious, it's wonderful, and it's it's everything that you can say negative about it in terms of its perverse effect on culture, but I'm helpless. I don't know what to tell you. It really is like it's like a drug. If you can just do it on the weekends and find a way to just
BDSM.
Right. Yeah. If no one
really
gets
into
hurt,
it, kind of weird, but once in a
you
while,
shouldn't really do it. You really shouldn't. But it's so
that's a good one. Right? I like that. Conan, what's your take on the Marvel stuff? I know we go back. Could we even talk about the TV shows?
Oh yeah.
Matthew, do you watch TV shows on Disney too, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, shit like that?
Yeah. I didn't really dig that one, but I'm watching them all regardless.
So I would love to talk about that too. Matthew, did you get through what you wanted to get through there? It seemed like you were building to something before I said the BDSM thing and took you off track, but
no, that always puts me right back on track.
So here's what I have to say about all that. I think that the whole superhero movie genre has taken the place of the action movie. And I mean like the action movie as in like the dudes blowing stuff up thing. And this isn't like some great epiphany or anything, but I'm setting the table. I also come from the perspective of someone that I was so into the comics when I heard that there was the idea, first of all, it was going to be James Cameron be doing a Spider-Man movie, I like lost my mind. And that took years and years and years. You could not even get a Spider-Man action figure that wasn't like Arctic Attack Spider-Man with like, you know, a Rambo thing. There's like, what? Who? When did he do any of this? Like, he's got a beefy cyborg arm? What is this? And when, especially that first Sam Raimi Spider-Man came out, I was like, oh, hell yeah. They got the right director, because I was a big Evil Dead 2 fan, and I guess Army of Darkness at that point. I'm trying to remember what year it came out. And they did it well. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. And then, like, with Iron Man, they got that right, too. Hey, way to totally pick the right guy at the right time to, like, do the thing. And I generally like those movies. Do I like them all because they're superhero movies? No. Most of those Thor movies are freaking unwatchable, but the Thor Ragnarok that has the same fella that did, like, Boy and...
Taika Waititi.
What We Do in the Shadows. Thank you. Yeah. Who's badass and hilarious, managed to do Planet Hulk in a way that was awesome and hilarious. And like, you didn't even have to give a damn about that comic storyline to be like, this is a damn entertaining movie. And I get really sick of predominantly leftist criticism of like, oh, they're just watering down culture. It's for a bunch of idiots. No. Like, what? I'm sorry. What was Terminator 2? I love Terminator 2 and the original Terminator, but like, are these works of art? No, I mean, Citizen Kane, they're not, but they're good for what they are.
Your argument is the culture was already ruined, so just keep going.
Yeah, culture was ruined before it was born.
Yeah,
man.
I'm with you. I believe you. You're right.
So I generally like it. I still think of the DC universe, I'm not counting the Nolan Batmans here. The only one, like, I don't know. It's all mediocre to extremely bad, and a bunch of them I just won't watch at all. But I'll say I watched the...
Which ones won't you watch at all? I'm just curious where the line is for you.
Wonder Woman 2.
The Zack Snyder with the recent one, the one
Justice
where... where Ben Affleck's fucking around as Batman. I'm like, that's not for me. I'm not going to do that. And then that includes director's cut as well as regular. There's not enough hours in the day for me to waste my time with that nonsense. But I will say is
four, so it's like
yeah, exactly. It's only 4 hours.
Six.
I can also watch Brighter Summer Day. You know, I mean, come on.
I think before his death, Edward Yang was working on a superhero movie. Unfortunately, he passed away before he could do his.
Now, that's interesting.
Just kidding.
Well, Chloe Zhao is doing Eternals, right? So okay, that's interesting.
Well, can we at least give Marvel props for taking these B tier comic lines and making mega stories out of them? Blade,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Blade was
by the once canceled James Gunn.
Blade. Let's be honest. Blade saved that fucking spot.
Oh yeah, Blade was the first Blade, especially is fantastic, and like Wesley Snipes.
I always forget that was a comic book.
Well, and he has his own book. He catches a lot of grief for his really hilarious viewpoints on taxation, which kind of bit him in the ass, frankly. But he is a damn good Blade. Like he lived that character, you know, and that was at a time that it was not so common. So again, I'm not saying that as a genre, like I'm into a superhero movie, because that's idiots would say that, right? Oh, I'm into, comedies. All right, well, whatever. It's basically a genre in and of itself. So what would you call like The Boys? What would you call like
that's a meta superhero story.
Yeah, well, sure, but it's a darker version, the Mark Miller verse, all that stuff, et cetera, et cetera. To point of fact, to flat out dismiss the genre or to say that it's somehow cheapening society, get fucking real and also get fucked. Thank you.
I agree with the get fucked.
So what you're saying is you like superhero movies.
I like movies. Some of them happen to be superhero movies. Again,
I like movies too. There's all kinds of movies.
Really?
There's all kinds of reasons to go to the movies. There's turning on your mind and turning off your mind. It doesn't mean you have to do one or the other every time you go to a movie.
Well, I don't think that any superhero movie automatically is a mind turnoff scenario either. I think that's also
they are when they're working right, as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think, Gene? What do you think, Gene?
I mean,
Winter Soldier, dude.
I'm getting a bit sick of them, to be honest. It's like I'm not against superhero movies, Like when Iron Man first came out, I was in Turkey, and people in Turkey were going nuts for Iron Man. So you could tell, yeah, like everyone was going to see Iron Man, and I really enjoyed it. I went to the fancy cinema in Istanbul, and like I enjoyed it. But over time, like the impact is going down, and it kind of feels, they're flogging a dead horse. It's not that superhero. Yeah, Derek Van's against superhero movies. It's just like a lot of them are like very kind of boring and predictable. Like I like an action movie, but I think like we've got to like market saturation with we've got too many superhero movies going on, and it's getting a bit boring. And I kind of feel this is the problem with capitalism. They're like, oh, superheroes movies make money, and so we're gonna flog this motherfucking titty until all the milk is out of it. And they're gonna they're milking the superhero titty, and then DC tried to milk that superhero titty, but they were
too late.
Milk. And
I don't know. I think they found a third breast. I think they can just keep going.
Well,
like the Total Recall breast, they found the middle.
Exactly.
But would you prefer it?
Crisis and overproduction. There we go. Crisis and overproduction.
Would you guys prefer it more though if it was just like a series on Netflix, kind of like how they did for a while when they had their Marvel series on Netflix? Would you prefer?
Think of those too. I'm like, oh no, another fucking. It's like it was fine and it was interesting and it made a nice change because superhero movies weren't like.
No,
superhero movies, but it weren't. They were either really shitty. Like I remember watching I remember going to like the Blockbusters to get a copy of the 1990s Red Skull versus Captain America movie, which was about
was that Roger Corman, I think, maybe.
Yes. Corman did this Fantastic Four one.
Oh, they did a great documentary about that. Roger.
That is really good. I like that.
Yeah.
I do like that documentary about that
movie. But superhero movies, Can
I ask you something though, Gene? I and this goes to what you were saying too. I think, Conan. It's to me, you're talking about genre movies, right? Superhero is a genre, and what do you mean when you say genre? It means it has these certain key things that it's always going to hit. You go to a gangster movie, there's going to be some gangster shit in it. You go to, whatever you want to call it, a Western, there's going to be some cowboys and some robbers and some stagecoach. Like, it's because those things are pleasurable. You want to go see those things happening on screen. You're not looking for some new experience, something to change your view of the world, or even to give you anything more than what you really are expecting, except you just want it to be like 5% novel in some way, just enough that it's like I didn't just watch the exact same movie over. And as long as I'm getting that, like I went to see all the Star Wars, people were hating each other. If I see some lightsabers and some force choking and some space zooming, it's like that's what I want. I don't really care.
Did you see a Star Wars? Yeah, I saw a Star Wars.
A war in the stars. Thank you. That's why I'm there. So it's like. How are we setting our expectations so high about these movies that they need to reinvent the wheel every time when it's at a certain point? Like, I don't want to see 8 per year, maybe. That may be the crisis of overproduction. But, one every 6 months, it's fine. It's like, but I can choose to see it or not.
Yeah, like, I just feel like, so I'm not against the genre of superhero movies. Although I have to say the Star Wars movie, I just want to digress here. I fell asleep in the last Star Wars movie because I think it was really piss poor. But like I would say,
comedy Star Wars I think I've ever seen.
I would say my objection isn't to superhero movies per se, but I think if you saturate the market with so many superhero movies, they all kind of like blur into each other. And if you try, and so I just, whatever, people can keep making them, but I just don't watch. I just don't watch them anymore.
I'm gonna call Kevin. Tell him you said that.
Yeah, you call him up.
Over here.
You got the okay, kid.
If you come to Springfield, I'm coming to whoop your ass. It's like Star Wars though. Like I also think a lot of these movies get made. perhaps it's not even the genre that's the problem at times. It's the fact that the storyline is often quite conservative in the kind of, people go for the reason the Thor Ragnarok movie was the best one I've seen for a while was because it was a little bit of a wild card. It didn't follow the usual kind of trope. Like, people lost their shit over Black Panther, but that was like kind of a bag of shit movie too. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't
basic.
like
It just had a different colored face on the hero, and that
People lost their shit. Look, I can't speak for all black people, but I will say that.
That's the truth.
All black people here tonight can.
Yeah. Let me say this about Black Panther. Let me say this about Black Panther. Black Panther, for a lot of people, was the first time that a black superhero crossed over where he was extremely popular.
Yep.
So I had never seen a white kid dress up like any black character. There's no white kid I know that dressed up like Lando Calrissian unless he was a racist.
Jason, do you remember when you played with us in Phoenix? You played in the band, and JB was in it too. Do you remember that drunk chick yelling Wakanda forever? And I thought she was just a superhero fan. Then I was like, oh yeah, half this lineup is black dudes, and that didn't even occur to me because I'm Conan Neutron, right? And that wouldn't have.
Was that a heckle or was that a cheering on?
It was a little bit of both. I think she wanted to see.
She was into it, but like, but like, that was an important movie, not because it was necessarily like even in the upper echelon of those style of movies, but for representation purposes, and that does matter, and that is a big deal. And I actually said to Lindsay before it came out, I was like, "Oh, they're making a movie of Black Panther. That's awesome. I'm glad that is happening, and I still am glad that's happening."
He's an important character in the Marvel universe, first of all.
Yeah,
and to make that movie,
Meteor Man, yeah.
Seriously, if we were to talk about like black superheroes, when I say black movie, no one ever thinks Blade is a black movie.
That's true. Blade is black.
Blade is a black character. He's black in the comic. He's Luke Cage. But when you saw Black Panther, and again, I'm not saying it was a great movie. I can't speak for everybody, and I think a lot of the motherfuckers going to the movie theater in kente cloth was a bit much. And crying. Is
that a thing that happens?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's absurd.
Did you go in kente cloth? Is that why you're saying that?
I'm going to reverse my position here. If they're dressed like Chucky Schumer and Nancy Pelosi with that photo op, then like
I took a knee in the lobby of Black Panther. Is that okay?
I remember I worked at a comic. What do you call it? The thing in San Diego, Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
I was at a Comic-Con, and there was this little black kid dressed up like Thor, and he had the whole outfit on, and everybody went. He couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old. He probably Zal's age, maybe 2. And he had the whole little outfit on, and couldn't nobody tell him shit. He was Thor, and he was Thor in the motherfucking outfit, and everybody thought it was so cute and adorable. And Black Panther was the first time you saw like non-black kids do that, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that he's wearing a mask, and you could just be anybody wearing a fucking mask, and he's got a cool outfit. But for a lot of cats, Black Panther is just like the end all be all. But Varn is right. The pro CIA message in that is rather hilarious.
I can see that it's important to various minorities to realize that corporate America cares enough to pander to you. That, if we know you're important enough now to sell you these things back to you. I mean, I'm sort of half kidding, but it's a sign of some kind of progress. But it also to be just like a Pyrrhic victory.
There's no Kurdish.
That it has to come from these.
Super.
What's that?
There's a Kurdish Spider-Man. He died in the Spider-Verse series.
Was there a Kurdish? There was no Kurdish Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I can't pronounce his name. There's a T and a Z somewhere. I lied. There is no Kurdish Spider-Man, but there was an Indian Spider-Man. As close as you're going to get. Deal with it.
Oh, damn. Were the Indians to you?
You accept that Indian Spider-Man? He was Spider. If you read the Spider-Verse series that came out after the cartoon, because the cartoon they sold so many toys from the Spider-Verse, thing on the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. They made a comic series of it. There is an Indian Spider-Man, and the reason why he's Indian Spider-Man, he's got the turban. He's got a turban and the little flowing pants. I'm not even trying to be funny. Look it up.
No, it's true. But
how
also,
else are you gonna know where he's from?
There's a Spider-Man Captain Britain too. There's like the Robotech like chick, like the kid with like the robot kaiju Spider-Man. I mean, it's a good way to like have fun with the storytelling. But so this conversation is going up against some stuff that frankly. That I think is a little bit on the boring and pedestrian side, and I would expect better from this panel. But it did touch upon the fact that I think the Into the Spider-Verse movie was actually both good and important by bringing Miles Morales in. He was an awesome Spider-Man, and if you read the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books, you know that, and we're excited about it. But also, like, that was kind of visionary in a way, because the way that it was like an animated movie, but not in like the Pixar style, not in like this style or whatever. It was a very interesting movie that kind of pushed that style of filmmaking forward. And also, guess what? Happened to be a movie that was entertaining to watch, which sometimes people forget. Wait, why don't we make this entertaining to watch? Who would have thought?
Barnes says
that's on Jeff Bezos' list of things, rules. Entertaining to watch is at the top of his list.
But the best superhero stuff.
You're wrong for that one.
The best superhero stuff is usually the animated stuff. If that's I don't know. I very much enjoy the they do the DC cartoons that they release every so often, like a full length movie. They do those every year. They're usually really enjoyable, and because I think they get the length right as well. They're not overly long, They're
70 minutes.
70 minutes. They kill it.
That's about right.
And they don't milk that. They don't milk that titty dry. So what
about the third one? It's full still.
Hashtag milk them titties.
The Total Recall titty.
Yeah, but Gene, I just tell you a little bit about that. Is that I went to film school, and like I went through my phase of like forswearing pop culture and mainstream movies and had all that. And then I came out of the seminary, and I'm like, well, I need something. And it was right around the time that the Justice League Bruce Timm show was coming on. And that was like, oh my God, here is cartoons made by guys our age who had watched the Super Friends, who know all the little references, but are still, it's a way more, like, you can't watch the Super Friends now. Like, I watched that when I was 5. You look on YouTube, it's like, it's impossible. It's literally for toddlers. Yeah.
I really tried to watch Super Friends with my,
It's a harsh toke to use the parlance of our times.
Yeah, extremely. And even through several layers of water. But there's a familiarity to those Justice League, it was the series, it was like the half-hour cartoons that got me back in. So once that happened, and I was sort of sad when that stopped and they reset with this new DC animated universe, but they've won me over since then. But that whole Bruce Timm Justice League Unlimited, that whole run is like time capsule. That's how you do superhero stories for the adult-ish audience. They're still fighting, but it's a little more complicated storylines.
I think you nailed it. I think those animated ones really, they really feel truer to the. I'm not trying to be a purist or anything, but they very much feel truer to the genre. They feel like that they usually like what the people who put them together clearly have great passion for it, and it comes through in the book. Like the series that they used to make. Like obviously we all know the 90s Batman, which is phenomenal, and I watched them not so long ago. I was like, put them on before I go to bed. You sit and watch an episode, and the way that they pace it, I guess the episodes are what, 30 minutes?
30, probably 22 with all those commercials for pop tarts.
Say between cereal commercials, maybe, yeah.
So 22 minutes, but it feels paced like a movie. It feels paced like a movie, and they really kind of up their game in the 2000s, and that kind of tradition through the animated studios that they do at DC is really excellent. And I honestly think when it comes to the movies, the Marvel movies are better. There's some of them are quite enjoyable. everybody hated Iron Man 3, but I really appreciated what's his name, Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. I thought that was pretty fun.
Mandarin's going to be in the new Shang-Chi movie, the real Mandarin.
The real Mandarin. But I think when it comes to animated movies, I think the DC guys have really, you know, they really hit the gothic tone. And you know, for example, Batman was great, but then there was Batman Beyond, the future Batman. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, with what's his nuts? I can't remember the character's name, but yeah, that was good.
That one's really good, and it's got the old Batman, but now he's a grumpy old man.
Yeah, he's the guy in the chair. Right?
He's the guy in the chair
for like the new Batman.
Yeah, well, maybe there was a crossover episode with one of the other Justice Leagues. That rings a bell, but I don't remember it being a whole series. But
there's a whole series. Oh, Matthew, if you haven't seen Batman Beyond, you've got yourself a whole juicy. I'm not even going to ruin it for you. I was gonna give a spoiler about the storyline, but it is juicy.
I think I see a scene of old angry Bruce Wayne in a mechanical chair in this kid with
basically
like a thing
Charlton Heston
out of the back. Yeah, right. All right, I'll check it out.
My
Listen,
dead hands.
But you know, there's when it comes to genre, you know, like the animated stuff, it's like there's a lot of good animated stuff that's coming out. Like one of the things that I've been watching is Love, Death, and Robots.
Ooh.
I saw 2 episodes of that, and I thought it was okay, and did not go any further.
What about Matthew?
Gene has actually invited me to get into it, so I've been watching it recently, and I agree, it is okay.
There are good episodes and there are bad episodes because I think it's an anthology.
It's an anthology, right? It's like Black Mirror or something, but
more different directors and I think it's
very different styles, and not all of it's animated as well. Some of them are not. I agree with Matthew. We discussed this on Facebook earlier today. CGI sex. 15-year-old Gene Badgeline would have been like, yes. Yeah, fuck yeah. But
over 40 Gene Badgeline has access to the internet now, so what's
so it's busted now.
I'm 39.
Sorry. Next year you'll get access to the internet.
Exactly. Not until next year will I get access to the internet.
I didn't mean to prematurely age you. I thought I was just including you with us oldsters here.
Oh, you said premature. I thought something else was going to come after that, but so to speak.
By 39,
I saw that there was with my internet search history. Yeah,
I saw that there was a killing joke.
The internet search history I would not like to run into is Pascal.
The masturbatory.
Spawn.
You guys watch Spawn at all?
No, I actually interviewed Todd McFarlane when I was in high school for my high school newspaper, and it was he actually broke the story of Spawn to the Revere High School Lantern in Akron, Ohio, because you can go on my YouTube and you'll see this tape that I made in the answering machine of interviewing Todd McFarlane. I won't go into the long story of how I basically stalked him in the pre-internet years and got his phone number somehow. And it was in between when he stopped doing Spider-Man, which was his huge, claim to fame, and was about to start his own thing, but nobody knew what it was. And I basically joined my high school newspaper just to have an excuse to use the number that I had stalked and found. And he agreed, totally unbidden, to talk to some 15-year-old kid for basically an hour about Spawn. So I was I even forgot to ask him what the name of his new comic was. So I called him back and I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" He goes, "Oh, it's called Spawn." Okay, thanks, click.
And you said, "I got 2 words for you, John Leguizamo."
There's a young man in New York.
You're gonna need that John Leguizamo. Let me tell you.
I have a very good friend.
That's the less said about John Leguizamo and Spawn, probably the better. But
that movie is something.
Mario movie.
But I'm rooting for that guy, Todd McFarlane. One of these days, he's really gonna make it. So I think
young up and comer, yeah.
I watched
like a young lad.
Documentary. My girl's brother actually works for Image.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He and he met one of the guys apparently at a bar where he lives, and that's how he got the job. They got to
You gotta
talk
hustle.
comics,
That's how you gotta do it.
Like, yeah. Go ahead.
So 2 things I wanted to get to. First of all, I was shocked that they made, since that we spent so much time talking about the DC animated stuff, I want to say I was shocked that they made a Killing Joke, Batman Killing Joke movie, because I was like, how in the name of fuck do you make that a cartoon? But they did a pretty good job. I thought they showed about as much as you could, right? Like, without it going like, snuff film style.
Mark Hamill is one of the best Jokers.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
I think Mark Hamill is the best Jokers.
And the other thing is, there's been a lot of good comments, kind of blasting past as well. But I do want to talk a little bit about. I think that there is genre subversion that does happen within, much in the same way that Ragnarok was. But as a perfect example, like people forget about Winter Soldier, the movie, but that's basically along the same lines of 3 Days of the Condor. Like it's sort of like a 70s political thriller with dudes beating each other up too. And like
it's because it has Robert Redford in it. That's how it's like 3 Days.
Well, but it's also a political thriller. It's political. Look, man, I get it. It's like if you're a leftist, it's like you only can shit on like these kinds of movies. But no, that's not the case. Like it actually,
you don't have to be a leftist. You don't have to be a leftist to shit on these movies.
Well, okay, fine, but
it's not a political. I'm not making a political judgment. I'm making an aesthetic one. That's
well, I'm saying The Winter Soldier is a better movie probably than a lot of people remember. And one of the reasons why is because it evokes the same style of storytelling as something like 3 Days of the Condor, or any of those like.
That doesn't strike you as grave robbing a little bit? It's like just piecing Frankenstein of things that people like with other things, and hey, it's new.
What do they got? Enemy of the State? I mean, like, sure, was that really a sequel to Conversation? No, not really, but it's got Gene Hackman.
In my headcanon, it is.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch? And I think Gene watched it. I can't tell if he's frozen or pissed off. Did you guys watch?
He's clearing his search history right now.
He totally is. We can see what you're watching through your glasses. That's why you never wear glasses on these shows, because everybody can see what you're watching. Yeah, I'm returning to my other bride. The Falcon and Winter Soldier was over the top with the flag smashers were like Antifa. Cuba even compared them.
But how are you gonna have it be like actual flag smasher, which wouldn't hold up to close scrutiny at all? So, I mean, it'd be like there's a dude called Flag Smasher and he runs around in that outfit. Really?
He kind of looked like Space Ghost.
I like I say, if you want to watch the greatest political superhero movie series. No, that captures the zeitgeist of American liberalism. Mm-hmm. It's the Arrowverse. You watch Supergirl, which is like Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, but a superhero series. I'm not joking. They have like a character who is a history teacher who looks exactly like Richard Spencer, who becomes like a racist, like Mr. Patriot or something. And then they have Manchester Black turns up with I can't remember what his group is, but they basically they go like, oh, well, we're not going to mess around like you, Supergirl. We're going to murder the bad guys. And we're the intolerant left. And so that's basically Antifa. And it's like Supergirl has to give them a stern talking to. But Supergirl has now
been heat vision.
Yeah.
I think you're giving that show and its writers too much credit, frankly, but I get where you're going with it.
But really,
you're the one who said Winter Soldier was like 3 Days of the Condor.
I mean, I'm saying it's in the same family. I'm not saying they're kissing cousins.
All
I'm
right,
saying they're the same family.
Hey, look, there's a comment.
I agree. They watched that movie before they made the other movie. That much.
You see this comment on the screen right here? Yeah, they literally cast Robert Redford for that reason. It also starts with Chris Evans jogging in gray sweats like in Marathon Man.
Okay, just put 70s movies in a blender, throw some shield throwing, and there you go.
There you go. There you go.
Gene, I actually love the Arrowverse up until, I don't know, the second season of Supergirl. I had to jump off. And I can't watch this season of Flash. Something happened. It's terrible. But I watched a lot of that all the way through. Actually, Black Lightning is the greatest superhero TV show, I think, of the past.
I heard the fall off is pretty bad, though.
I was afraid. No,
It's really good, and this is the last season. I'm like on the last half of the last episode, and I can full-throated recommend that to anyone who likes superheroes.
Really? Really?
Yeah. It's just that good. Put aside all of its like sort of references and political things. Like that's cool, but not totally distracting. It's just well written. The drama, the reversals, the setup, the payoffs, like all that stuff. It's more intelligent than any other Arrowverse CW show. So,
well, I think that, and first of all, I will now watch that. So I appreciate that recommendation. But Legends of Tomorrow is my favorite of that whole.
Oh yeah, no, okay.
Legends of Tomorrow.
You're right. That's so good.
Far and away,
so funny.
Like,
so funny.
It's hilarious. And it managed to, first of all, better John Constantine than Keanu Reeves. Can we all agree on that?
100%. 100%.
Ooh.
100%. My fiance Mary, that's the only reason she watches it is for John Constantine. We watched his original show, and they make him even better on this. So yeah, sure.
And I did not care for that original
black guy in the same superhero.
Wait, say again. Say again. G.
There's a black guy who has to live with a old white guy, but inside.
The scientist and the
Firestorm.
Firestorm.
Yeah.
I love that guy. That guy's awesome. That guy.
Well, and I like the whole conceit of like, hey, we took all these like B and C listers because they're like kind of not important to history. So if they die doing this stuff, it doesn't really matter. Like that's a good conceit. That's a good like setup for a story. And they've gone a lot of different ways with it, and they've really embraced the absurd in a way that's deeply entertaining. But they haven't lost sight of
it. Started out more serious, and it found its legs when it did that.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that show that's the shining star of like that. I guess we call it the Arrowverse. Right. That stuff for me, for my taste.
And that's what you were trying to say earlier. I think
Zardoz is hell yes. By the way,
playing with genre, right? Like you expect it to be superhero heroics, but then it's also absurd comedy. So so it's something somewhat fresher than just stopping the bad guys every week.
And I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, frankly. Like I thought Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I like that too.
I never gave it a chance. I just never watched it because I'm so used to that stuff not being part of the movie universe. And apparently S.H.I.E.L.D. actually was or kind of is, but now I guess it's not canon anymore since the Disney.
No, that hasn't been officially declared. But the thing is,
what?
Like,
you're breaking news here.
No.
What?
Show me the article. They've talked about it over and over again.
I'll show it to you. Apparently, because. Go ahead. No,
I shed some tears every time Coulson died. Really, I did.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one thing they did very fascinating with that show for an episodic TV show like that is that they tied it into when Winter Soldier came out, and when the big reveal, which spoiler alert, Hydra came out. For me, that show went from like, oh, this is okay. I kind of dig this, all right, to like, oh, cool. This is now something very interesting. Now, to be clear, it took like 20 episodes to get there, so I fully get it when people like jumped off the train. But I think that was 40. That was a hell of a show. Yeah, it seemed like 40. A couple of them, it's like, oh my god.
The first two seasons, it just was like.
Apparently, I think the multiverse, Doctor Strange multiverse movie, we're going to get the new Ghost Rider. And it's not going to be the Ghost Rider from
Nicolas Cage.
Not that one either.
It's going to be Johnny Blaze. I think it's going to be Johnny Blaze.
It's going to be the kid with the car. The Robert Rodriguez. No. Not Robert Rodriguez.
No, not
the Ghost Rider with a car.
Ronnie Reyes. Ron Reyes. No, he's from Black Flag. Ron. The kid with the car.
There's a Ghost Rider who has a car. This is past my time. So.
The new guy has a car. The guy from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, and here's why they changed it.
Oh wait, he had a car? Oh yeah, he had a car.
Well, here's why they changed it because, like, think about it in terms of Robbie Reyes. I was close. Ron Reyes is one of the singers for Black Flag.
Yeah.
I'm a rocker. What can I say?
The original singer.
So Johnny Blaze was like an Evel Knievel back when, like, in the 70s, when it was like stunt riding was a big deal. Stunt riding, not a big deal now. So, like,
I can't do it.
Well, sure, but I mean, culturally, it's not a big deal right now. It isn't ubiquitous in the culture in that same way. So Robbie Reyes is like he has a car, and it's a different kind of Ghost Rider. He's a Mexican dude. He's got a disabled brother. It's a whole thing. is running around doing the Ghost Rider thing, and it's good. And this is an example of like when they do rebrands and recastings and they try to like modernize stuff. I think that's a great example of like Ghost Rider was like, look, all love to Nicolas Cage for trying to get that movie made and for I guess actually making it, but come on, man. Like it needed to be updated. It was
I love Mark Teixeira's art in those 90s Ghost Riders. That was like the heyday of my comic book collecting life. I was just so into that. I had the shirt. I must have worn that 3 days a week to school. So.
Well, you can still
like, didn't you wear that? I watched it. You know,
you can still get lovely Marvel T-shirts for a reasonable price at Target.
Target, yeah. I was
gonna wear podcast brought to you by.
True story. I was gonna wear a Captain America shirt I got from Target to this. I just forgot that it was happening to like 5 minutes beforehand, so you had to make do with whatever.
Well, I gotta say this: if Target wants me to big them up, and they're gonna give me free nappies, or as you Americans call them, diapers, I am perfectly happy.
I don't call them anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
I come someone else's problem.
Game.
So, well, you know, I've got
potty pads for my dogs.
But this guy, Jason Miles, he's got how many kids have you got?
Enough.
75.
75.
5 that I know about.
5 that he knows about.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made that statement.
Yeah. I found out about.
Look at him. Look at him. He's acting like yeah, it's tough on me, but he's like, yeah.
It's a humble brag. It's a humble brag. Sure.
It's a humble brag.
I was with 4 of them today, and it was
at the same time.
At the same time, my daughter graduated Laney College, and my oldest son graduated high school.
Congratulations,
Mazel tov.
Thank you for them. Thank you for that. They're.
I mean,
great.
you know, you played a role.
Very small one. Just yelled at them. Was my
but
job.
Crucial.
And they all know who He-Man is, and that's all that matters.
Can we just say I was very happy to see a Zardos reference in the comments because I brought that up. Jerry Casale was on the 250th episode of Protonic and was interviewing me, and I somehow managed to throw in a Zardos reference, which of course he got. You know, the whole the penis is bad, the gun is good intro, like Sean Connery with a ponytail and like a Barbarella outfit running around. I mean, that is some film, let me tell you.
Good movie.
It got so much right about the future, especially the
we are living in Zardos right now, actually. Yeah.
That's what the feminists want. That's the world that they want.
This is the future liberals want.
The feminists want.
This is what they want. You know?
The meme writes itself.
If I get a picture of Sean Connery in Zardos, Jason, can we throw that in for folks to look at?
Yes. I think I know the one you're talking about. Send it to me.
I could just go put up my outfit. I have it.
You're gonna cosplay as Sean Connery in Zardos?
No, I couldn't.
My
chest is hairy. That's about it.
Do you guys ever go down this rabbit hole where you're watching, like, let's maybe I watch RoboCop for the reason. Like I was on Ben Burgess' show, and I convinced him to watch RoboCop because I said, if you want to understand neoliberalism for beginners, watch RoboCop.
Hell yeah!
One of the masterpieces of of the genre.
Fucking RoboCop fucks. You kidding me?
So you know, on Amazon, when you watch these movies, it says, well, you would also like this, and there was all these B level RoboCop and dystopian future movies that came out in the early
Android
80s.
dude.
Do you remember some
Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
With Jean-Claude Van Damme.
You know
Universal Soldier, one might argue.
Matthew, do you know what Cyborg was supposed to be? It was supposed to be Masters of the Universe 2.
Really?
Whoa, that kind of explains a lot because I don't know why
They had to recut it. It was supposed to be the sequel to Masters of the Universe.
Did not know
Nobody
that.
requested or wanted.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was one of the. I think I bought that on pay-per-view. That's gonna date me.
There was I think it was an Instagram poll of Skeletor, whether Skeletor would have a skeleton dick or a real dick.
And what did the poll say?
I think most people thought he would have a skeleton dick. I was like, look, he's got beefy arms. He's got like a massive chest. Like, I mean, he's basically going to be the Taskmaster for all we know. There we go. There he is.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Sean Connery, your finest role.
This is Sean Connery that I will always remember. This Sean Connery and Sean Connery from Highlander.
I love seeing my president like this. Yes.
I didn't realize that he was Spanish in Highlander until I went on tour in Scotland and we were talking. Got into a Sean Connery conversation.
The only motherfucking Scotsman in that entire movie, and like he's playing a Spaniard.
Talk about.
There's gotta.
And he said he's supposed to be from Spain, and he doesn't change his accent at all. He doesn't even fucking try.
There's got to be some Highlands in Spain somewhere.
Juan Ramirez. That is my favorite part about Highlander is that Sean Connery doesn't even give a fuck. All he did was throw. That was it.
Cashing that check, baby. Do you know that Christopher Lambert actually has a pretty storied filmography in French cinema? Like he's considered like a serious actor, much like Gerard Depardieu.
He's a serious actor.
Yeah. Are you saying that seriously, Gene?
Yeah, he's in the
Fortress.
Tarzan. He's in Tarzan.
Fortress. Yeah.
Oh, he was Tarzan.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop now.
Oh, he was Tarzan. That was a.
You're not gonna get me to say a bad word about Christopher Lambert, no.
He was the Highlander, man. The fucking Highlander.
That's right.
It's one of the best movies ever. First Highlander is good. Second Highlander.
There should have been only one is the tagline for that.
Yeah, exactly. And they were talking about the films. Yeah.
It has the best. It has the best line of a movie ever, which is, "Are you an F word?" And he goes, "Why? You cruising for some ass?" And that's like one of the best. And like ever since I saw that, when someone in my hometown would go, "Oh, you gay, man? Are you a gay?" And I'd be like, "Are you cruising for some ass?" And people would think I was like some kind of genius. I was like, just the line from the Highlander. It was like, there you go.
So side note. Go ahead, Cody.
I got that from watching Cruising. Same thing. But anyway.
So Clancy Brown too. Great Clancy Brown role. Like he was Kurgan, right? Like he's a good
MVP of the DC animated universe too.
Absolutely, yeah, and has done lots of voice work. He was in Clone Wars, Star Wars as
he's amazing. His voice
Starship
work.
Troopers. I mean, that guy's just everywhere.
His voice work
works.
In Clone Wars.
He's not picky.
And you thought it was just Shawshank Redemption? Nope.
No.
So I don't know if this has been happening to you guys, but since the show has been getting bigger, I get friend requests from people, and I'll see if they know people, and I'll just say yeah, whatever. And so if you're a woman that gives me a friend request, I see if you have all men, and then I go no, some sort of like fuck bot.
Well, first you got to look and see if they're in a bikini lounging. Like that's
and I'm like, why are you going to be friends with me? Like everything about you is no.
Very lonely, looking for dudes to DM with. Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, so dude, today this young lady friends me and says like lives in Oakland, and she was friends with a musician I know, and I'm like, well, usually the musicians I know don't fall for this shit.
Okay. A big mistake.
Yes, I get a message. It says hello, and I'm like, oh fuck, is this a bot? And I was like, are you a bot? And they said, haha, no, are you? And I was like, oh, maybe this is a real person. I was like, no. And they said, so you live in Oakland, huh? And I was like, are you sure you're not a bot? And they're like,
smart
no,
bots.
Dude. So the bot goes, you live in Oakland? And I said, well, yeah, I live in Oakland. It's like, so my rates for hooking up are pretty cheap or some shit like that. I need to
Damn.
I was like, nah, dude, I'm totally cool. I don't know.
Well, how much were they? How much were they?
I'm not trying to find that shit out of my life.
Look, all you need for this story is a fleshy apparatus, and you're in a Cronenberg film. That's all I'm saying.
I stuck my hand through the phone and touched a phone.
Your own personal crash.
We've been talking about superhero movies, but what about sci-fi? Has anyone been watching? Has anyone seen the new Star Trek? Star Trek.
Why am I not watching sci-fi?
I like Discovery.
When you're making a movie.
Even
okay,
like,
are you talking about the J.J. Abrams movies, or are you talking about the Star Trek Discovery?
No. This not like the J.J. Abrams movies are fine, but they're not like Star Trek.
Listen, it's all diminishing returns to me the longer Star Trek goes on. But since I'm so hooked, like we talked about, earlier, like I'm so invested.
You're invested.
I will crash and burn with the whole franchise. I will ride it all the way into the dirt. Whatever it wants to do, they can count on my $8.99 a month or whatever it is.
But what's his name? Like Discovery is not bad, and
I like it.
The first season was a little bit it was okay.
When it gets going, it's good. Yeah.
Too much soap opera for me. Too much emo. Too much side emo. Of things. Yes. It's not a workplace comedy or a workplace drama. Like it's but I want weird ideas. I want sci-fi concepts. A little bit of the pew pew is fine, but I want something that's mind blowing and expanding some concept. But
like the big moral dilemmas. Like, we have this moral dilemma that we can't, do we interfere with this society? But if by doing so, we save millions of people, that stuff.
Yeah, or even some new technobabble. We cross the streams of this reality, and I don't know. I can't think of it. That's why I watch them. But, I want something like that. And they gave you a lot more, like, am I going to be the boss of the ship?
What they gave us is Christopher Pike, who was awesome. That guy
that was Christopher Pike. I was
very pleased. I love the Christopher. I don't think Burnham was that bad, but I think she has bad writing because it always looks like she's about to shit herself or cry.
Yeah. No, I think she's just actually
that's her best
actress.
Yeah. It's like, but she's always like so worried all the time. It's stop writing her that she's worried all the time. She doesn't need to be worried all the time.
Or she's got to cry at every look.
Like she cries too much, and crying is fine. But if they do it every episode,
no crying in Star Trek.
No, I like a bit of crying.
Tom Hanks can cry.
It's totally fine. But like every episode, it's like, come on, man! Like you can't have an emotion. They're so unprofessional on that ship, right? They're so unprofessional.
I know, right? Exactly.
Like get you fucking Starfleet officers. Get with the program.
Get a hold of yourself, man.
And I get that Tilly is sort of like the Neelix of this ship, which is fine, but like.
Fine. Tilly, there's no problem with Tilly.
But it's like a little goes a long way.
Probably, but
also like the love story they did with Ash Tyler, Asian South Asian Ash, a South Asian man called Ash. That was pointless.
Well, it's 23rd century. You don't know.
The only good relationship story was the two, the doctor and his husband, the engineer. That was really good and touching. But that was good.
And that was tragic.
The first one you mentioned was joyless and terrible, and I hated every second of it.
But the doctor and his husband
traveled 1,000 years. They says in the chat box. Cut him quick.
No, that was awesome. And I mean, listen, I burst.
You'd be emotional
into tears.
too.
I'll just tell you, I burst into tears at spoiler alert when the old guy turned into the Thing. I don't want to for anyone who hasn't seen it in the last season. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Hey, can we also say that? One of the best bit parts in like this newer season. I mentioned fucking Cronenberg.
Oh yeah, who knew?
David goddamn Cronenberg is on Star Trek.
Yeah, and he's good and weird.
And he's
really good.
Awesome.
As an actor, or he's directing him?
As an actor. He's he's one of the
like
better of
guy.
The future characters.
Really?
Yeah, like he's really good.
He's like a CIA of 1,000 years in the future.
And I like
1,000-year reign.
I don't know what his name is. Admiral Alejandro. Hello, my name is Alejandro.
Yeah, I thought that was all great. I thought
the newest season is the best season so far.
For sure.
I do think they need to be a bit more on it with the sci-fi, a little less on it with the emotional drama. I have no problem with emotional drama, but like I'm kind of like, we got a lot of emotional dramas out there. Let's get a bit more Star Trek. We need a little bit more.
Gene, whenever tell me how you feel though, whenever you see that emotional drama, I start to feel like they're not aiming for me anymore. They're aiming for some other demographic. I'm not in that focus group anymore. So I'm like,
I like the Ozara character because they took the Orion race of characters that are always slaves everywhere, and like she's the ultimate like badass. She's like and
she wants to reintroduce capitalism to the Federation explicitly.
Right. Over capitalists. Elon Musk of
it's like, we'll sign a treaty with the Federation, but you got to accept capitalism. And they're like, okay, we'll accept capitalism, but you got to stand trial. No, it was there was good aspects.
That was interesting.
I
love that. That was like that Four Futures thing where it's like it has to be a resource scarcity has to go away. So now you bring back resource scarcity. Will it still survive? I thought that was clever.
No, I thought there was a lot of good. No, I think people give Discovery a hard time. I do understand, like people got triggered because they have Gary the transgender, the non-binary, and Trill. And
Riker already tried to seduce somebody like that like 25 years ago. So
and people get triggered by a load of bullshit. I mean, there are problems with Discovery. I think the pacing is wrong. I think they should, they shouldn't be trying to do too much serialized storytelling. I think Star Trek's at its strongest when you have a better mix of serialized versus arcs. And I think
you don't like a good Xindi revenge storyline. Is that what you're saying?
Oh man, yeah, Xindi revenge. No, yes.
Respect.
I do like a storyline, but I kind of feel like your arcs have to be like in Star Trek you have your arcs, but you have them kind of covered up inside all your like episodic episodes, so that you're like, oh shit, we're moving the story on, and it gives you a bit of a surprise. 1 week they're dealing with the fucking Xindi, the next week Archer's fucking a chicken.
Right.
With a chainsaw, I think. Right, a chainsaw.
She's Pinochet but green. Holy crap.
Yeah, Pinochet, green Pinochet. Yeah, that's it. She's green Pinochet.
Green Pinochet.
Did you see the animated show though? The Lower
Decks or whatever, Upper Decks. No.
I forced myself to watch all of it. I eventually started to enjoy
I liked it. I didn't like the first 2 episodes because I think
many sperm jokes or something.
I thought the humor was ill-fitting to me. Like I don't know. I feel like I should.
But again, not us. It's not for us. That's how I feel. I feel like time's moving on.
Whatever. Move aside, old man.
Yeah, I will. Bye.
Yeah, it's cool. Peace.
Yeah.
It's the kind of super ironic way of talking that is like all the cartoons are talking speak in this super ironic way.
Well, so I happen to love Rick and Morty. I've watched all of that. So if that's the bleed there, I don't know if that's I think one of the guys is somewhat obliquely related to Rick and Morty, right? So they're trying to capture that.
But I think it got better. I think the Lower Decks got better towards when they went a little less on the comedy, a little more on the sci-fi. I thought there was some really good sci-fi concepts and ideas in it. So I thought
I watched it, and I think it's got a lot of potential. But I didn't think I think like it could be something really great, and it's okay. I think it's an okay show personally.
What about Picard?
They fucked up that ending. I'm sorry. They did all this great world building and they just shit the bed like harder than anything I've seen in like a long time. I was like, what are you doing?
I tend to agree.
The pacing was all wrong. It just felt like a really badly paced series.
The concept, I just don't like this idea that we have to fuck up the Federation to get some drama in here. Like we have we have to make this like grim and gritty, like they used to say in the 90s. To bring in drama. Like, it's lazy. It's lazy.
I think that's an incredibly erudite observation because the best thing about Star Trek isn't when it's trying to be like Battlestar Galactica. It's when it's fucking Star Trek.
Yeah. And you're the concepts of the conflict are with exterior forces, not within the human family. I mean,
I think it's hacky writing, and I'm really hope that they get away from it because I'm kind of sick of it, frankly. And I do like Discovery, but
right.
They are
at least they got a blank slate. At least they got a blank slate.
Question: Can we get a panel together at some point to watch? So we're talking about science fiction, and we're old. The original V.
Oh,
Robert Englund.
I have not seen that in a
I haven't seen it since I was a child.
Shit out of me when I was a kid, though.
That music still gives me nightmares. Doon, 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 doon.
Gene, do they have V in the UK?
So I will let you know, like,
it's obscene there. They're not allowed to do that.
I don't think
we only have Turkish V, actually.
I don't think they had. I watched V. I watched the original V. Because they had it at Blockbusters, and they used to have like imported American TV series at Blockbusters. So I watched it in the mid '90s because I was looking for like any science fiction I could watch, and I was like, "This looked pretty good." So I grabbed that. And then there was a reboot which wasn't that bad. The reboot, it was fine.
It has Marina background from Firefly and
Firefly, baby.
Homeland and all that. Yeah, she's great and super hot too.
So
the guy from the 4400. I don't even know if you guys. Well, I forgot that guy's name.
Oh shit, man! I watched
God.
4400 too. I watch any old shit. I'll tell you, man. I will watch it.
So did
Isn't
you
that
think
the first show with Mahershala Fatih Ali Khan, whatever his name is?
Yeah, Mahershala Ali. Yes,
yeah,
it was.
That was his
and Jeffrey Combs, one of the
I know what his
genre
name is.
actors.
I think it was funny to be a dick, by the way. I wanted to see if I could crack up
funny.
Jason,
It
and
was
I
funny.
did.
I liked it.
I don't want that dude's people to come knocking on my door.
Yeah, they're gonna come for you, not for me.
He probably knows Pascal, right?
If he's in
Isn't
He's
he
in the
Haitian?
4400 guys or the
Yeah.
the Moonlight guys. It depends on which one you don't want to meet.
Well, he's
Bro.
Blade now.
Well,
is he?
well, okay.
Mhm.
Is he? So is Anthony Mackie Falcon or Papa Doc? Depends on how old you are. I fuck with
He
8
played
Mile.
Papa
dude. That was a
Doc.
great
I didn't
movie.
know that.
Papa
Yeah.
Doc
Wait.
in the Eminem 8 Mile, not
Yeah.
Papa Doc.
Oh, okay.
Which
I
is
thought this was
which is a
movie.
better movie than it has any right being, frankly, because like there's
I
all
forgot
kinds of
about
reasons why I was like this should be awful.
I enjoyed 8 Mile. I really
think
did.
8 Mile's great.
There's scenes in 8 Mile that reminded me of the Bay Area back in the 90s.
New Star
Are you doing rap battles then?
Yes.
Wow.
So Jeremy is asking what I think of the Orville, and I enjoy the Orville. I'm sad that there's, I think once Seth MacFarlane managed to convince the studio that he didn't actually really want to do a Star Trek comedy, he just wanted to like do a he just
Star
wanted
Trek.
to do, he wanted to do 90s Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because he's
And
got what's his name?
It's awesome. Like
It's good.
Like it does that turn in like that last season. Like it does that turn where like that's
He did
better
his
than
best
like
of both
Picard.
worlds.
That's better than Discovery. That's the
Yeah,
best
it's
Star Trek
fucking-
thing in a while.
It's
Yeah.
I know it's controversial.
It's
but
comfort food.
It's comfort food. It's got the Benjamin Sisko's wife from Deep Space
Yep.
Nine.
Penny
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Johnson.
she's a doctor. Adrian Palicki's in it as like the first officer. She's also in Agents of Shield as Bobby Morse, because all roads lead back to Marvel.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought Orville was
Marvel and Disney until there is one. Well, yeah, apparently, did you hear the
The
rumors that
singularity.
They are the Borg at this point.
buying it was rumors, and I don't know how true any of them were. They're supposed to be buying DC. Did you see that?
Who? Is
Disney supposed to be getting the DC universe.
One mouse to rule them all, one mouse to bind them.
That's like literally like playing with the two parts of the bomb in what's that movie where you mix the two liquids and then it's gonna
Don't do that.
You can never cross the streams, man.
don't.
Well,
That's crossing the
Hasbro
line.
owns everything. So Hasbro owns the 80s right now. They own G.I. Joe, Transformers, Jim and the holograms, Micronauts,
They
Mask.
own a huge part of my subconscious. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And Hasbro released a comic with all that stuff.
Look at this, man.
Oh my God, Pascal's discovered how to do Facebook Live.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
He's on a competing stream. I don't.
yeah,
No,
this
he's-
that's bullshit.
No. He figured out how to do Facebook Live earlier today. Like Pascal and the internet. Look, I'm going to say this on the Patron only, and maybe I won't make this public. Pascal on the internet can be funny, and it can also be like an old dude realizing how to do it. Like I had to walk my dad through how to turn the brightness up on his phone, and it can be very similar. He's like, "Man, I did a Facebook Live. Shit." Like I'm terrified what's about to happen now.
So what's everybody's feeling about the Dune movie coming out? Because I'm going to say this:
Don't do it.
the David Lynch one, is a beautiful movie. It goes super weird in the second half, and I don't think David Lynch read the Dune book.
Nope.
But here's the thing about that book, though. You can't say it's the David Lynch Dune. It's the Dino De La Torres Dune, because he's the one that kept fucking with the vision and changing everything around. Like, it's not what David Lynch even wanted to be. But I do agree. I think he probably didn't even read the Frank Herbert novels. But
no, it's literally the opposite of the message of the Frank Herbert novel is Messiahs are a disaster
or bad.
Are bad. Whereas the David Lynch movie is Paul Mordiba is a fucking
Atreides.
Messiah. and it's great.
But it wasn't the movie he wanted to make either. I think that's key. But I will say, and I was thinking about this today, so it's weird in the fucking Target parking lot, if you can believe it. That, like,
brought to you by.
I'll roll these back to Target. Yeah, exactly. Let's get those nappies endorsements. Come on, boys. Best. I think it's one of the better examples of use of voiceover as narration. Because when the first thing I thought of, I read the books first before I saw the movie, I was like, how are they going to do the internal dialogue? And like the whole like whispering thing where they're whispering. I thought that was actually really cool. Is the movie a fantastic film? Nah. I mean, you got Sting going, I will kill you. You know, it's got some moments that are like, all right, it's entertaining and fine.
But like, it's got some cool Lynchian Grace notes, just the weirdness.
And the use of like voiceover for narrative function, it's actually one of the few movies that actually kind of justify that, I think. So since I'm busted in like a bull in a china shop talking about this, I'm going to say I'm cautiously
like
optimistic
a sandworm.
for
like
this.
A sandworm.
Like a sandworm. I'm not, look, my drummer Alex in my band one day was before the pandemic at the studio that I lived and worked at, was working a shift there, and it sucks working there, right? And he goes, hey man, I just saw this movie Dune. I've never seen it before, because Alex is like 10 years younger than me. And I was like, have you read the books? He goes, no. I was like, don't watch the movie. You need it. I was like, at least Wikipedia or something. You can't just jump into
watch the movie first, then read the books, because in the books they'll seem even more badass.
That movie
I was given the book like by an older friend of my dad's, like, you've got to read this. If you like Star Trek, you've got to read this. And I was like 16, and I barely got through like the first like 50 pages. And I'm like, I'm just going to watch Next Generation. So I need to get back to that. But then I said, like, I'm going to pause because like there's like 15 books. Have you read like all 15 of the, and then his son wrote some books and so on.
There's 8 books, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm up to book 3, but my wife Sarah, she's read them all. She says she says they're excellent. She hasn't made the leap into the books his son has written yet, the prequels his son. She hasn't quite made that leap, but she is reading the Dune comic at the moment because she needs her Dune hit. But you know, she was like reading it like a couple of years ago, and she was like, every so often she was like, listen to this awesome quote. And I think, you know, if you ask her, she'll say there's some books are better than others. But she said it ended in a really strong way, and there was kind of a mystery. She loved all the new characters. I think there's a lot of potential in Dune. I think it's a very clever. I mean, I've done the first 3 Dune books. I enjoyed them. They're a classic for a reason. I think the first one is a little bit, you know, the first 100 pages is a bit of a, you know, a trek to get through. But once you get into it, you get into it. And there you go, man. Hit that up.
This is literally the one I've been carrying around from house to house for 30
Read it.
years.
Read it.
I mean,
it's
analog.
Seriously, you have to admit, if and again, Alex, you know, he's had 4 beers and he had a couple joints. I'm like, look, dude, you're not going to understand what you're watching, and you're going to see Sting flying around with a blue-faced man, and it's going to give you don't want to watch that right now. Just, you know what? Here. This is the Karate Kid cartoon. Watch that.
So I think the first 2 books I think are really wonderful. Third's fine. I mean, but there's a lot of diminishing returns because you get to like Dune Force, Citizens on Patrol or whatever, and it's like, who cares at this point, right? I mean, like
Mission Miami.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
Mo Dune More Furious. Yeah.
Oh no, Mission to Moscow. That's what it was.
Mission to Moscow was a solid movie. You know, it was like post Cold War optimism. But you know,
Steve Guttenberg is the Messiah.
If you're looking for a more modern one, I mean, I really enjoyed the Expanse book series.
I was going to ask you, dudes, about the Expanse.
Yeah, I started based on recommendations from like half the guests on my show and like all my friends. I started with the Expanse, and like I'm like, I wasn't into it, but I was like, I think I'm going to stop and come back to this with a more open mind, because I feel like this is something that I'm going to really love. And that's
if you can get
the only
to
other
the last
I ever did that with was Community. I did not like the TV show Community when I first started. I saw the pilot. I'm like, this isn't funny. Fuck this. I'm fucking out. And I probably, you know, went back to watching Party Down reruns or something. But like,
I get that.
I gotta say, I've got enough people be like, the Expanse
last
episode. What's that? What?
Sorry. Sorry.
No,
I was
go
saying I agree. I can understand why you thought that about The Expanse, because it was sort of like okay about 2/3 of the way through the first season.
Yeah.
And then it kind of all starts to really gain steam towards the very end of the first season. And then from then on, I was just like, this is the best sci-fi show on TV.
So that's good, because to me, I got like a third of the way through it. I'm like, this is work. I'm not into this.
It's a lot of prologue. It's a lot of world building.
It's a lot of world building. Like the reason I know about The Expanse is I know exactly how I know it's about The Expanse.
The Turkish Expanse.
Turkish Expanse only, yes.
I read actually about the series when I was on a Wikipedia binge one time, so I'd heard of the series. And
no
then
shame, we've been there.
So when I was on I went to Wales with my mum and my wife, my dad, and I was in a super bad place because I was trying to finish up my PhD. I was having writer's block. I needed to write some chapters. I couldn't enjoy myself. I was having a terrible time, and everyone was going out for hikes in the Welsh hills, and I was at home trying to write a freaking chapter on Kurdish politics. I know exactly what I was trying to write on. I was trying to write on provincial reform in the post-1908 era, and I was like, I can't fucking do this. But you know how people leave books in holiday homes? Somebody had left the first book of The Expanse, and I was like, fuck, I know. I'd heard of it, so I was like, oh, I know what this book is. Let me have a look. I literally read the first chapter. There's a kind of introduction scene, and because the guys who wrote it, they worked for J.R.R. Martin.
Ewing. No, Martin.
Yeah, they worked for J.R.R. Martin. You can see his imprint on it because they have like a really good setup scene, that kind of hooks you, and then it kind of moves to the kind of like chapter by chapter story. So it felt very J.R.R. Martin. So I can't. Every time I say "RR," it sounds like a pirate. I just can't.
What's a pirate's favorite fantasy series?
Anything, but the book I got through in like a couple of days, and I was like, okay, give me another one. So I'm just like waiting for that freaking final, the ninth one to come out, and it's a really excellent series. And what I appreciate about it, there's a lot of diversity in the characters. They're like ethnically diverse, but it's not rammed down your throat. It's not like, it doesn't feel like some white guy is like, oh, let's just randomly pick someone exotic person to be here.
Let's just cast Zendaya as Mary Jane Watson and have the character be totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what, there's a Kurdish character in it as well.
There you go.
I was like super excited. The guy who gets, well, actually, no, it's a spoiler, but one of the characters who works for the Prime Minister of Earth, like an intelligence officer, he's actually in the book, he's Kurdish, and I'm like, yeah, nice, we got space Kurds. But
birds in space.
But the Expanse books are really well written, and I think because the writers are very heavily involved in the TV series, I think a lot of the creative decisions they made, the changes from the books, they're some of them are quite substantial changes, but they make sense because you're changing genre. Like it doesn't ruin the story. It just makes it better for presenting it on TV. Some things work in a book. You can do a 6-year time jump in a book. Doing it in a TV show doesn't work as well. So like, I think they've done an excellent job. They're like one of the main characters. Basically, the actor was like trying to fuck 16-year-olds or something, so they had to give him the boot. The way that they gave him the boot was
That's the worst thing about what's recently developed in the show. But
the way
that was the first time that I was just like, here's the real world impacting my fantasy. Oops.
Exactly.
Cancel culture strikes again.
I don't blame them for doing it per se, but it just was like that was the only time it started to feel like something that didn't make any sense. They had to do it for extra textual reasons.
But they did it as well as they could. I felt like the way that they wrote that character out, it added to the story. It made you think, oh God, space is super dangerous. You think you've done it, and then boom.
Yeah.
But
I just like. Can I just go back to your original story? Because I just like that you procrastinated yourself into a wonderful new experience.
Yeah, I meant to write this paper, but look, this book looks interesting. Why don't I just read this?
Yeah. You were gifted this great gift from the gods due to not wanting to do what you're supposed to do. I think we can all relate to that. It's a wonderfully good ending to that story.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hope for us all.
There's hope for us all, but I've enjoyed the Expanse series immensely.
And what you're saying, it encourages me that I'll listen to the audiobooks that I've actually purchased once the series is over, and feel like I've not learned it all. Right? That sounds like what you're telling me. Like it could be enjoyable.
It's an enjoyable experience. Like a lot of the kind of main strokes of the story are the same in the book and the series, but it's kind of paced very differently.
Spoiler alert! Don't say strokes. That's what. Never mind.
Different strokes for different strokes. But I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed I've really enjoyed The Expanse recently, and I really enjoyed the What We Do in the Shadows TV series recently, which isn't quite
one of the best comedies on television. Flat out, badass.
That is one of the Matt Berry, who plays Maslow, is the
so good. The bass player in Coda Neutron: The Secret Friends, Tony, broke down and got a Jackie Daytona T-shirt, and I just texted him back. I've never been so proud of you,
Jackie Daytona.
Laugh until I cannot breathe.
That Tony Ash, by the way. Tony Ash.
I mean the episode when it's got the wife is hilarious. The woman who the female vampire really freaking makes it better than the movie, because the movie was good, but it was very dudes. It was a dude movie. But having a kind of like a dumpy, horny female vampire is so good. And she's
Did you guys like modern vampires?
Colin Robinson as the energy vampire.
Matthew?
Sorry, Jason.
Vampires? You remember the movie Modern Vampires came out in the early 2000s with Robert Wagner's? Was it Robert Wagner's daughter? Robert Wagner is the one that was married to the real hot lady from West Side Story, and she died in the ocean.
Read it. No. Natalie Wood. No, I don't know.
I think I say
no. I don't remember Modern Vampires. My better half is the vampire expert in our family. I'll have to ask her if she's checked into that.
If I can just tag on the What We Did in the Shadows, Colin Robinson, the energy vampire, is like a fantastic addition to like that whole story. And there's like the episode where there's the misery vampire in the office where he feeds, and then the misery vampire's feeding on them for so good.
I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this trailer if I can, because this is a unlisted stream, so hopefully they won't take it down. But Modern Vampires only came out in '99.
Natalie Wood? Is that
Natalie Wood? Natalie Wood is the woman that died in the ocean, and this is her daughter, I think this is her daughter that she had with. Is it Robert Wagner? Is that the guy? Some white guy.
Mm-hmm. Might have pushed her out of the boat. Might have not.
That was the whole story, right?
Yeah.
Robert Mitchum.
Mitchum pushed her out of the boat? No, he didn't.
No, it wasn't.
Leave that man in his high pulled up pants.
Christopher Walken was there. Everybody knows about it. Robert Wagner.
Make it up now.
Can you guys see this? Can you hear it?
Yeah. Get it.
Most early
creators of Freeway.
Oh, wow.
Of those who stalk by night.
Let's get some people together real soon. See you. Bye.
But within this deadly world, he's a renegade.
You've been a very naughty boy, haven't you?
And she's an outcast.
I drive
Her.
a stick to her heart, and that would be absolutely wunderbar.
Oh my God, Rod Steiger.
Yep.
Wow. Slumming it. Passing them checks.
I want her dead.
He must wage a war against his own kind.
One world with a guy and a woman doing some things.
Casper
This
Van
summer.
Dien, Natasha Gregson-Wagner, Kim Cattrall, Robert Pastorelli, Udo Kier, and Rod Steiger as Dr. Van
Good cast.
Helsing
I'm talking about bad people.
with his posse.
Talking about it, right?
Tell him, Rod.
In this town, the nightlife is to die for.
Get it?
Modern vampires.
From
So
the makers of Freeway.
I
Do
kinda
you
wanna
remember
watch that
after
now.
Blade, so after Blade, there was
Shitty Angel.
so you remember all those vampire movies that came out? There was this, and there was another big one.
There was John Carpenter's Vampires, which was not.
There was the one with the Underworlds. That was like really popular.
Underworlds came out after that.
When did the Eddie Murphy one, Vampire in Brooklyn, come out?
90,
right now.
93.
Okay, so way before that.
The makers of Silk Stockings wanted to do Buffy.
That's
so wrong yet so right.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. I mean, the cast has been in all other stuff. I mean, I guess except for Casper Van Dien.
It's from the makers of Freeway, so of course, yeah.
Wasn't Casper Van Dien on Melrose Place? Or is that
wasn't Casper Van Dien was Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers. That's his claim to fame.
Modern classic Starship Troopers.
Who was that?
That was it.
Starship Troopers.
When you guys talk about like these vampire movies, there's a character in Modern Vampires who's pregnant. She's a pregnant vampire, and she's like just never having the baby, and the baby like shoots out.
Was that was an Interview with a Vampire? That was the Prestige vampire movie. I feel like there was like
vampire movie.
Yeah, this was definitely not a prestigious vampire movie. The one we just saw the trailer for. There's not much prestige there.
I thought you meant the Prestige, the movie, as a vampire movie.
It's the Prestige for vampires. You'll love it.
I'm subverting your vampire expectations with some magic tricks.
And then you chop your finger off.
The Prestige.
I feel like all the pre-Twilight vampire movies, it was like and then there was like after that, everyone just
Twilight was piss poor. Like
you going out on a limb, Gene? Going out on a limb with that one?
I'm going out on a limb, and I'm saying
I'm going to piss some people off here, but
when I first watched that, I was like sitting there. I was like, wait, so you've got this 90-year-old guy who died, who's like basically goes and hangs around fucking high school students.
She's an old soul. She's an old soul. She never closes him out. That's how
this guy's a fucking nonce. He's a fucking nonce.
Look. Sure, we could sit here and talk about Twilight, but we could also talk about Let the Right One In, which is a far superior film.
Hold on.
That is a legitimately great film.
Before we stop talking about Twilight, a good friend of mine from school is the Black Vampire in the first two Twilight movies. And I had to watch those because he was in it.
What a claim to fame.
What's his name?
Eddie Gathegi. He's in a bunch of shit. He's also in X-Men. He's he's the X-Men that dies. He's
he's the black one.
You know what's funny? He dies first.
Of course. Can we just say
now
Darwin?
First of all, what a rad movie
Darwin, yeah.
What a rad movie Get Out was in general, and what a great film for a number of levels. Not to mention and I do say it's a horror movie, one of the only horror movies kind of pushed the genre a little bit in a really long time. But the fact that like it's self-aware enough, like have Laurel, right? Like that's his name? Is like kidding on the square about like some real ass shit, but then also like they talk about those kinds of horror tropes. That's good. That's like
that's like the Scream. That's the Scream universe. You know, once everybody's seen the movies, you can't have it without calling it out, right?
I think I do. That's why.
But no. But hold on. It's not the Scream universe. Get Out does it far more eloquently and better.
No doubt.
Elbow. Oh, check out what we're doing. We're doing the thing, and I fuck with the first one. I like first Scream's okay. They made like 17 of those goddamn things, so like, all right, whatever. But I gotta say, like. Because that is a thing, and that is even a thing as like the whitest white dude. Like I was like, man, the black guy always gets it early on. What's up with that? Like before even like anybody made any jokes about it.
But here's the thing: we were all so excited that Eddie was in X-Men. It was like, oh shit, Eddie's in X-Men. Fuck, he just made it. He's in X-Men. He's got a superpower and shit. Oh fuck, Eddie's in X-Men. And then that motherfucker
Magneto drops a tank on him or some shit, and then he's done. Yeah.
Oh, it was like
what happened? I can't remember.
He was also in the Atlas Shrugged movie, which I actually sent him a message, and I was like, "Yeah, why?"
I mean, get that paper, but that's equal to working.
I assume he was compensated.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just
Compensated by copies of Ayn Rand books.
That's exactly what they would do. I could imagine them doing. But I want to write my own.
No
version.
handouts here on this movie.
I want to write. My dream is, and everybody knows this. My dream is to a new Atlas Shrugged, in which this is my pitch for a novel, right?
Okay.
Or a movie is Elon Musk goes to Mars with all the billionaires because he's sick of President Bernie Sanders taxing it. And he takes a bunch of celebrities with him, but then they really fuck it up on Mars, and it becomes like a fucking Royal Rumble where they all fucking start killing each other to eat, and become cannibals. But this is
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale, and
not the Royal Rumble. That's
all broadcast on Earth, right? Because it's on reality TV on Earth, so people are watching the billionaires murder each other on Mars because they didn't bring enough food.
And they're all wearing those Japanese schoolgirl outfits.
Let's go.
That's my pitch. And yes, the Japanese schoolgirl outfit.
The Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble. It's like the Royal Rumble, the Battle Royale.
Battle Royale. It's on Mars. It's Battle Royale on Mars.
Bezos is going up on the
billionaires.
Turnstile. What do you call them? The things on the end. Here comes Bezos with the pile driver.
Oh, Event Horizon. Did people like Event Horizon?
I love Event
Horizon. That was a good space horror.
When I'm done with this,
it's a horror movie.
In a few minutes, I'm about to go watch Life Force. Do you guys remember Life Force?
Oh yeah, Patrick Stewart's in that one.
Yep.
And who has what's her nuts like is running around naked like 90% of the time.
Yes, that's a life-changing movie for me.
Yeah, if Letterboxd had been around and the teenage me watched that, I would have given that 5 stars for sure. But Letterboxd was not around when I watched that. So
Life Force, I was terrified of Life Force. Life Force and Vamp were 2 movies that scared. Grace Jones has always frightened the shit out of me and intrigued me. And watching, there's a great if you like horror movies, there's a 4-hour documentary about 80s horror movies, and they just made a sequel to it that's also 4 hours. And in the sequel, the dude that's in the second Nightmare on Elm Street, who's also in Vamp, talks about how Grace Jones would be so in character that she actually bit through his prosthetic.
Oh, she's pulling a Daniel Day-Lewis and like staying in the character or something.
Yeah, and fucking actually got the guy's jug. So he goes, all those screams you see are real, and I had to get stitched. Like she actually got to my jugular, man.
That's pretty scary.
Method acting.
It's called. Oh God, you should really it's really good if you are a horror fan. It's just the 80s, and they go through almost every fucking horror movie in the 80s and have behind the scenes shit. The actors from it are in it that are still alive. Robert Englund actually talks quite a bit about going from V to Freddy. And he goes, dude, I was doing like summer stock. I'm a Shakespeare. He goes, I fell into this horror shit, and this is what I do.
Matthew, film guy with the glove. Here he comes.
This is literally the one I got from Spencer's Gifts in the 7th grade. Freddy Krueger. Welcome to prime time, bitch. There you go. That's my.
Went to the theater to see that one. 3. Oh,
yeah, 3.
Conan, you like the Freddy movies, right? Or a few of them.
And actually, yeah, the third one that had that wasn't Heather Langenkamp. That was
Heather Langenkamp was in the third one.
She came back as the leader of their discussion.
The Dream
group.
Warriors, right? The
yeah.
The book group, yeah.
Dawkins.
I'm not gonna drink no more.
What a rush. Sorry, I can do them all day.
No, dude,
all day.
Freddy 2 still, I think, is an underrated classic. And once I found out,
got the body, I've got the brains. A lot of people want to hate that movie, but it was just as creepy, if not more creepy, than the first one.
I thought that was there. Would you know about the backstory though? About how the writer was gay and the main actor, but he wasn't at the closet. The writer had the gay. He's like, this is going to be like super subplot. The director didn't realize it, so they play up that shit a lot. So when you rewatch the second one,
we picked up on that the first time around. I don't think we appreciated it the same way I did later.
The main character's about to screw his girlfriend, and all of a sudden he runs to his best friend's house.
He's got terrible skin.
He leaves. He's like, I have to go, and he like leaves his girlfriend. She's like, what?
We're boning.
And he
I
goes,
mean, one and three are the best, but 2, it's unique.
2 and when the gym teacher gets killed with getting the towels slapping him on the ass and all the balls to the ass. The balls.
You got to be Freud to put that one together.
Yeah, it's real subtle. Yeah.
It's like Rob Halford. It's like Rob Halford in the 80s when he comes out. You're like,
you had to smuggle in those gay subplots back in the day. They wouldn't allow you to.
But the kid's dad is gay. The main actor is gay. The writer was gay. It wasn't like they had to like hide anything. It was, here you go, man.
Gay. It was gay.
Almost as gay as Lord of the Rings, which is Lord of the Rings
in a good way, and I mean that in a good way.
Lord of the Rings is the gayest movie ever.
Somebody said play the 1-900 Freddy Krueger phone line. I called that to my parents.
Find right now that you said that.
The end of Lord of the Rings, where there's like 17 different endings, right? The one ending where they're like the bed in their nightgowns and like, oh, I'm so excited to see you.
It's like, gay all the way through. It's like
I know.
So
I saw that in the theater, and when that fake ending came up, a friend of mine just shook his head, went gay, and like I lost my shit laughing, and I was the only one laughing because no one else heard me. Obviously, not a sensitive thing to say or very woke, but I was at the time I was like, wow, that's a lot of slow motion dudes kind of hugging each other right now, isn't there? Okay,
it's fine.
That's what I always say. Like when you're making a film, if you're feeling it, the audience is getting it. You don't have to draw so many fine points. If it's in your heart as you're shooting and writing and editing.
Other. Let me show you in slow motion in their nightgowns on a bed. Okay.
I may not be able to carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
I'm just going to wear this the rest of the stream.
I can carry you, Mr. Frodo. It's what's funny is like Sam Ganges, like that's where my grandma lives. Everybody talks like that. It's like super off-putting.
I think I fell asleep for a lot of the Lord of the Rings and the other ones.
It's fine. There's so
I only saw the last one because some friends wanted to go see it, and I'd never seen the first 2, and I went to the theater to see the last one.
Do you know that the head of visual effects for all the Lord of the Rings movies is Mike Moraski of Steel Pole Bathtub, who actually lived in New Zealand during the time while those movies were being made?
Wow. I'm glad he had a fallback.
3 people that know Steel Pole Bathtub are. Yeah, I mean.
Well, didn't the guitar player from Tool do a lot of the special effects for Matrix movie?
I don't give a shit about that.
Jones? I thought Tool was your favorite band on the under.
Yeah, it was ESC, I think is the name of the company. I can't remember.
I think one of the keyboardists from Stereolab did the stunts on the Matrix. No, I'm just throwing things together now. I don't know.
I actually recorded real talk. I actually recorded with the woman that did the stunt driving for the Matrix, and they had a kid. The woman and her husband. Her husband is Jeepers Creepers, the monster, and he's Schwarzenegger's stunt double.
Oh shit!
We're recording.
That's a hard job.
What's that city? What's the city right before LA? Santa Maria. What's it called? Santa.
It needs to be way more specific than that.
San Pedro. I don't. Going right north or south?
Santa Monica.
Where Magic Mountain is, Conan. Where Magic Mountain is. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know where Magic Mountain is. I'm trying to think of. Well, I was thinking of Santa Monica.
Anaheim. I don't know.
No.
Anaheim is Disneyland. Buena Vista's
coming south. So coming from the Bay Area, I can't think of the name of the city, but anyway, this dude lived there. He had a studio in his parents' place, and I'm looking around. I'm like, hey, why do you have all these like huge cutouts like Arnold Schwarzenegger in your house? and pictures of your parents with Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh yeah, my dad's a stuntman, Santa Clarita. Thank you."
Shit.
And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, my dad is Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double, and if you ever seen the movie Jeepers Creepers, my dad is that monster, and he trains people here in the house. So that's why you see all these like weird things, because he had what do you call them, blenders all over the place. There's like maybe like 10 blenders in this one room. I was like, "Is your dad like a health nut?" He goes, No. This is how you make this stuff to light yourself on fire."
Oh shit!
It's not like a lot of protein smoothies.
I don't know like, why.
Craziest house.
I don't know why this story is reminding me of it, but a dude that used to DM for our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, we used to go over to his place, and he had a kind of like more than you would expect amount of Manowar posters on the wall, which I would say one would be more than I would expect, frankly.
Manowar is all banned.
But he also had a room that, I kid you not, was exclusively filled with printed out porn put on the walls. Like just a room. This is a guy that had like, he was like 2-bedroom house, but like was estranged from like his wife. So he just had a room of porn, you know, as one does. And I discovered it by like, I thought I was like, oh, I need to, you know, hit the head here. And then I was like, oh shit.
Like, went into the porn room. I actually used to have a not a room of porn, but I don't know, did this exist in America? Back in the early 2000s, before the internet was like super big, when I first moved to London, you used to have call girl like postcards in the telephone boxes. You know, those little red telephone boxes.
For a good time, you know, I'm lonely.
Yeah, for a good time, call you know, this number, right?
I heard about that. I heard about that being the case.
I used to collect them all, right? I collected them all, and like,
gotta get them all, man.
Every time I could find a different one, because you know they'd be all over the place. They'd be like, I guess they were for different massage parlors or whatever.
Charmander and you know.
Charmander. I had all the cards, but I put them all on my wall. And then when I moved from the house, I was like, you know, these are cool. I'm going to keep these. And I put them in a box, and I forgot about them for years, right? And I went back.
They might increase in value. They might
increase. No, when I came back, my dad had put them into a frame, and he'd framed them. He had this huge framed collage of these like. I was like, and you have to understand, my dad is like
that's outsider art.
He's like at the time he was like a 60-year-old. He was like
get him a show gallery.
Yeah, where's his reality show?
The Iraqi Kurdish guy. He's like, no, this is good art. This is historic. I was like, Dad, this is like some porno stuff I picked up.
Your dad's got like some situationist aesthetics going on.
Yeah, season 3 of Escort Framers. Exactly. Episode 2 through 5.
Yeah, well, you know.
That's remarkable. That's sweet, actually.
He'd framed them all. He framed a picture of me graduating next to all the porno, all the call.
Would you like giving like thumbs up? Because that'd be amazing if you were. Yeah.
And my mom was like, but my dad, like, he's not very woke. I don't think he would survive as a medical doctor these days. Like, he would say, you know, he doesn't mean it, you know, because he's from the Middle East. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't understand. You can't say, like, my brother had a flatmate who was a black girl. And my dad was like, "Oh, my son, he's living with a black beauty." And I'm like, "No, Dad.
What was she hot?
I mean, she was an attractive young lady. It's like, Dad, you can't. It's like, why? I'm giving her a compliment.
It's a compliment, exactly. Yeah, it's a
compliment. I was like, Dad, I don't know. Everything is difficult now.
Cancel culture's so out of control. You can't even operate without pants anymore.
My dad also, like, I don't know what this was, but I think somebody had complained that he was mean to them as a doctor. And my dad as a doctor is kind of like, he's like, this is what's wrong with you. He was a very competent doctor, but you know what, didn't have the best bedside manner. And apparently,
like House.
Yeah, like House. So there's like a trans woman who was like, oh, this doctor was angry at me because he's like against trans people. And my dad was like, I don't know what it is. don't know what she was talking about. I just thought she was an ugly woman. I was like, Dad, you can't say that. You can't.
His comedy special is coming out on Netflix next month.
Yeah, you can't go around. So, there's nothing wrong. What people do is fine. I didn't think anything. It's like, don't go to the NHS inquiry board and say you just thought she was an ugly woman. That, please.
I'm sure he could.
Probably could, yeah.
Well, at least he's not a racist or a transphobe.
He's not a transphobe. No.
Well, before I play this 1-900 number, I will share, since we're sharing embarrassing stories, this is probably the most embarrassing story of my life, and I'm being totally serious. When I was
you should get the full screen for this.
I will. Okay, we'll full screen it here. Hold on, we'll full screen it, and I'll put myself on the top. Oh, Conan disappeared. Did Conan disappear on your guys' screen, or can you see him?
No,
Conan, are you there? Speaking of porn, he's got to get that last jack out. But
he turns into a pumpkin at midnight. So.
Conan, where are you? Oh shit, he disappeared for real. Well, he'll come back. I'll see him. I'll put him in. When I was 17, I lived with my father, and he had divorced his second wife, so we were living together. And then he decided he was going to go back, and he left me in this apartment that we were living in. And so I got sad because I was really, really poor because I barely could afford to take care of myself, and I had to like pay rent. And there was a match. Somebody left matches at the apartment with one of those 1-800 numbers on them, like a sex number. And I got kind of addicted to calling those numbers. Between those numbers and the young lady I was dating at the time, I was just spackling the ceiling. And so
the story would have worked without that imagery. Yeah, we get it.
And we know, given that you have so many children, we know it must be a copious amount of spackling.
So here's where
we're gonna have to start calling you the spackler.
I mean, so between those
Batman villain name
and a woman or a young lady I was dating, I was like 17 years old at the time. Just always have it. What are you wearing? So what would you do then? And then
what happened?
I would leave my door open so my friends
were they old Jewish women? Oh, tell me what you're gonna do there.
Who smoked 6 packs a day? I love that character.
Oh,
give it to me.
Oh, tell me what you where would you put the gefilte fish?
I'm touching my bosoms now.
Oh yeah, get it.
Little Krusty the Clown there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Harvey Firestein, whatever, it all works.
Harvey Keitel, is that what you said? Harvey Keitel.
No, I wish I did.
Harvey Firestein. Harvey
Keitel is even better. It's even better than Harvey Keitel.
Bad
Lieutenant was bad. Wait till you hear about.
He can't be a cop now. He works on the phone.
Times are tough.
This story. Look, this is a true story. So,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
I would leave my door open so my friends would come in, and I lived in one of these apartments that we lived in. You had to like call and get buzzed in from downstairs, but I didn't have call waiting. So if you called me and I was on the phone. You called me. I was on the phone. Busy signal. So my friends would get in through other people, and so all my friends were coming. I knew a few were coming. Like everybody came over, and so I heard them open the door, like "Motherfucker, we're here!" And so everybody comes in the apartment. I'm in the room. I got fucking a handful of my own dick, and I'm like trying to figure out what to do.
Don't brag.
I try to put everything away. And my boys walk in.
It took too long. There was so much to put away.
Show's taking quite the turn.
Yeah. We're just going where he's leading, really.
So wait, listen.
That's a long lead.
How could I not? I'm definitely
and
listening. Yeah. And the end.
My boys walk in. I'm trying to like hide. My boys walk in. A jar of Vaseline is on the floor next to a Bible and a towel.
Hey, don't judge, guys. Don't judge.
The
It was the early
aristocrats.
90s.
My best friend, Ryan Tanaka, walks in and says, "What the fuck are you in here doing?" Calls
Not the brightest
everybody
guy.
else in the room.
That was pretty clear. You need a diagram?
This really is
This is
the
the
flip
thing.
side
You
of
heard
a
about
nerd
this, Tom?
show. It really is.
The jerk. Well, this is what nerds do. Watch
Right.
sci-fi and jerk
When
off.
they're
They all
not
know,
watching
Matthew.
anime and cartoons and sci-fi,
Yeah.
it's the only other
They don't
thing.
need this. They don't need this nerd explained to them.
It's the Vaseline and shame.
They know all
True.
about it. They don't need to be told.
True, like to this day, these guys will always find a way to bring it up. Like, oh, damn, remember that day we walked in and you had the Bible? Like, what the fuck were you?
Dear God.
Can I
So
just say, just to change the subject as quickly as possible, that Jeremy S. had Harvey Firestein in The Bad Lieutenant, which I think would be, I would see that there.
Oh, in a heart. In a
Tell
heart.
me how you suck the guy's cock. You know. Sure.
Oh, you guys have
You know, this is. I guess
Get
this
with
is
the
somewhat
program.
related to Gene. What your story kind of it reminded me of the day that you know, when I finished high school living with my grandmother because my family had moved to Florida and Florida sucks. But she was like a real film lover too, and she would just go see whatever I said. Like, let's go see this. Like, you know, we rented Reservoir Dogs and watched that together. You know, it was just like. She was into it all. She had seen Cassavetes movies in the 70s, and so she was adventurous. You know, she'd be okay, whatever. So I didn't know anything about it. I just knew everyone was talking about this new movie, The Crying Game. So she and I went to the theater as we were wont to do, and we sat down in our seats and we began to watch The Crying Game. And I will never forget at the big moment or little moment, depending on how you remember the film, when the reveal occurs, she literally like leaped out of her seat, stood straight up, went "Wah!" and like put her hand in front of me, like when you stop short at a red light and you want your kid
Protect
not
the
to
kid
like
from an accident. Yeah.
yeah. She went like, and I was like, you know, I was 17, 18, so it wasn't like it was that, but one of the greatest moments in a movie theater because I was now enjoying more her reaction than the movie.
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
So we laughed about that for many years.
You add a star to that movie just because of the reaction. Yeah.
Exactly. Made grandma leap 20 feet higher than she's leapt in 30 years.
Right.
Well, Jesus.
I believe she liked the movie very much. She was a little surprised.
Raul Julia, right? That's the main character, Raul Julia.
In the Crying
Can you guys hear me?
Julia?
Raul Julia? Was he?
Jay,
Jay
puzzled by your
Davison?
question.
Jay Davison?
I'm trying to remember.
Can't possibly.
Well, let
Jay
me.
Davison, who followed that up with Stargate.
Hey, Stargate is a solid movie.
That's right. Yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
I'm a huge Stargate. I'll
That
talk
shit,
Stargate all day.
The face went. I thought that was the craziest shit.
I actually have a good Stargate story as well. So Stargate was in the cinema, and I guess we must have been like 12 or maybe 13 or 14 or something like that. And I went to the cinema with the girl I was dating. We held hands in the cinema, Zara Ionides, and yeah, like we didn't go on. But I also went with another guy, Dave Coates, and Elizabeth Butler, and you know, me and Zara, we held hands in the cinema. Dave Coates and Elizabeth Butler, who were in front of us, man, it was like fucking WWF up in there. There was like, you know, those hands all over the place, and it was really.
He suplexed her? What? I don't understand.
She was a big girl. Not a fat girl, but you know,
It was like Battle Royale or Royal
like
Rumble.
Battle
Zaftig.
But
Zaftig is
no,
what
I
was-
could never watch Stargate again because I have that image of them wrestling in front of me through the whole movie. It's like,
Exactly
I'm sitting there, the fucking gate comes open, I'm like, oh god. I could see like two horns.
Close that gate. Open this
Close
gate.
that mind gate.
Have some shame. Close the gate.
Interestingly enough, all but one of those people left the United Kingdom.
And
I left.
All of those actions, or
I left.
unrelated?
Elizabeth Butler moved to Dakota, and Zara Ioannidis moved to Australia. David Coates didn't leave, but I still hang out with him. He's when I'm back in town, he's a cool guy. He's a musician, a very talented bass player. Actually, excellent bass player.
What's the name of his band? If I don't know his band, then he ain't shit.
His band was called Mr.
I was
Ed.
thinking it.
So someone told me that in what's the city in London where all the cool people are, or the area of London.
The area of London. where all the
Camden
cool
Town.
Camden.
Camden, yeah.
Walking to the wrong place in Camden, and we had a guitar with me, and I was like, "Hey, do you know what the blah blah blah?" And the guy's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "They told me the band name." He was like, "Never heard of you." Wow. Thanks for making me feel like a great big piece of shit.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Can I get the directions now, asshole? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Gene,
Thank you. Thanks for the words.
Thanks for that David Cross. Yeah, thanks for the that dude. He ended up like calming down because he could see that we were legitimately lost, and I wasn't trying to be cool, but he really was like, "Yeah, never heard of you."
It's just that British sense of humor, super dry.
No, I think it's a piece of shit.
He's been a dick.
Oh, okay, or that.
Being a little prick. Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think you are, you silly fuck?
Yeah, I was like, bitch, I don't know where. He really didn't know that I didn't know where I was. Like, I think he thought I was a guy that was walking in a record store with a guitar and going, "Excuse me, do you have my
walk in and be like, "Do you know who I am?" or anything like that. I mean, like, you asked for directions, for fuck's sake, man.
I walked in more like,
Sorry, sir. Can I ask you for some directions?
Gene, I just want to ask you, does that mean that makeout ruined that you've never seen any of the Stargate offshoots, all the series, the 55 years worth of television spinoffs?
I guess you won in universe quite a bit.
Some of them, but I have never managed to. I know Jason Mimosa was in one of them, wasn't he? But
yes, you mix orange juice with champagne and you drink it right up.
I was gonna let it slide, but I was thinking,
come on, wait a minute. But yes, he was in Stargate Atlantis. That's where he started. But the SG-1 with MacGyver, that's a 10 years worth of great sci-fi TV for you.
I've started watching it several times, and I don't know, it just kind of doesn't hold my interest. I don't know why.
Because you don't like archaeology. You don't like history. I know. That's what it is. You don't like.
Well, it's like going to
other
work.
cultures.
It's like going to work. It's like I go to work and I do history, but I come home and I want to look to the future. There you go. Or
I say.
Dungeons and Dragons games.
If only there was some parallel universe
By the way, Gene, just for you, I put that Dungeons and Dragons animated series in that opening clip just for you.
I do love the Dungeons.
I watched that. I watched that show a lot.
That was some solid. That was a solid cartoon. They would run a lot, so you get a lot of the. There's no ending to it, I believe. I think they had to make a fan ending because the kids never leave.
They never got home. Oh, well, who wants to go home? Really?
It's like the end of Quantum Leap.
Dan
and
Larson
he never went home
on Dungeons and Dragons animated series. So for those of you that are watching, please go watch my friend Dan Larson at Toy Galaxy. And before we go, I do want to play this Freddy 900 number clip. Can
I real quick say one thing on D&D that I think it's amazing that for one of the easiest cinematic gets that you could possibly have, they've never made a good Dungeons and Dragons movie. And weirdly, I think one of the only ones that get remotely close are those recent Jumanji movies. Hear me out, because it shows the kids, but then also the characters. And so what they are doing is they're trying to make big budget, Game of Thrones, the dragons doing this thing, whatever, this and that. It's never about that. It's about the lived experience of the people playing the game. Thank you.
But isn't it more fun to play it than to watch somebody else playing it. Although that doesn't explain all.
That's
of
why you
it.
give the kids that are playing, you give them a character arc. You know, you give them an arc. You show the teacher like being like a troll or some shit like that, you know, like, and his voice by like, you know, okay, this is Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel is the troll and the teacher. Yeah, whatever. You know, like it doesn't matter. Like what it is you show an analog to like, oh, you know, the mean mom is like the evil queen and this and that, and you have like real stakes. And I'm not kidding when I say that those recent Jumanji movies are the only come remotely close to it. And not like they're like some great works of art or anything, but like,
well, I'm gonna check those out now. I tuned out after the first one.
Okay. Well, Jason, over 2,000 people watched Jason and I play Space Dungeons and Dragons. It was fun. We got to play with Doug Lane's kids.
That's how Twitch started, right? Like people were like with video games, like watching people play.
That's what I don't get. It's super popular now to watch other people play video games. I only did that when it was my quarter was next. You know, like I didn't want to ever do that.
You're like die.
Yeah, exactly. And I was rooting for to get out of there.
Were you one of those dudes that knew you could whoop somebody's ass and you walk up to the Double Dragon game with the quarter and be like, bitch?
It wasn't Double Dragon, it was Street Fighter. But yeah,
I
had one game that I could do that with. And then of course until you beat the guy who's been standing there for 2 hours and you're just like, what the heck? What happened? For the most part,
you gotta get us Hadoukens in.
I used to hate that. That guy would ruin all my fun because I've never been good at video games and
get knocked the fuck down like Drago knocking down Apollo Creed.
He dies.
He's the Drago Street Fighter.
I played a little D&D, Gene. I played a little bit enough to know the ins and outs. I feel like they should have made a movie out of one of the more popular campaigns from the 80s, like what was the vampire one? There was like a few, the box sets.
The Curse of Strahd.
Was that it? I can't remember, but I feel like there was a
Ravenloft. You're thinking of Ravenloft.
Ravenloft, yes, that was it.
Like I believe you though. I'm like, oh
yeah, Ravenloft. That was it. Well, because they were the ones that your really brilliant friends would write themselves, and then there's the ones that you could like buy. And so but eventually we just started doing Turkish friends.
Turkish friends.
Turkish D&D.
Yeah.
Turkish D&D.
We eventually just threw away everything and we just kept the dice and we just played as if we were, this was pre-Columbine, but as if we were armed running around our own high school because we knew the map of the high school by heart. Yeah, and there was always, it wasn't like kill the teachers, but if they happened to get in the way of us chasing the bad guys, so be it. But it was like we would have to chase some bad guys through our high school.
In the 90s, people started playing Vampire the Masquerade, which was the edgy vampire version where you were all vampires. And you have to be all emo and stuff like that. I fucking played that game so much. But people used to get mad because I would always do stupid things with my characters. I'd be like, I'm playing a crazy character, and my name is Loco Taco, and I was doing that. No. Everyone else is trying to be like, my name is Blakeston Winston Winthrop. I'm a Crusader Knight, but my love was killed. And it's like, yeah, I'm just a crazy taco loco. I was a loco dog.
If I didn't end the campaign by committing mass suicide, like a suicide bomb, I didn't have a good night that night. Like I got down to like 2 hit points and strapped myself with all the explosives and wander into the crowd. I love
the fact you had to preface this is pre-Columbine.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't do it now. Well, too soon.
I feel like Vampire the Masquerade, like it's as an actual game, like the rules were almost like a polite suggestion, but like it was an excuse to like dress up and like act out, right? And in some of those cases,
whoa, we didn't do that nerd shit where I was from.
I was gonna say
you didn't need an excuse.
What I was going to say is that the nice thing about Vampire the Masquerade, though, is it actually brought in a lot of women that were like, oh, it's an excuse to like, dress up like fucking super cool and like act like a vampire. Right on.
Like
that's awesome.
Like sluts, basically, right?
But
like Halloween every day of the week.
Have you seen the Vampire the Masquerade propaganda movie documentary that was made a couple of years ago?
Documentary.
Like, cause they just released it for there's a new edition of Vampire the Masquerade. No, like they brought back the old Vampire Masquerade storyline, and they made a documentary, and they have the LARPers, and you're watching, and you see the LARPers, and it's like, bro, they are only like taking pictures of like the super hot girl LARPers who look like they're about to make out. Because seen LARPers, I've seen like.
Yeah, like 300-pound dudes just like sweating, their makeup just like sweating down their face, look like the fucking Joker. Yeah, I've seen it.
And like when we're at the nerd shop in Springfield, they have a big event every year, charity event. And there's some people we have to hide the free pizza from because it's like some motherfucker come up and eat a whole pizza, and it's like, bro, like seriously, you got to share, right? You've got to share the pizza. You can't come in and have like a whole free pizza dressed as an elf, right? Like
there are rules in Masquerade.
There's etiquette. You could if there's pizza left over, you can have a second
for closers.
Yeah.
Look, do you think Dracula eats an entire pizza, you maniac? No, he does not. He shares with the rest of the
Alex fucking Baldwin speech from Glengarry.
But it's all vampire themed. Yeah.
It says for closers.
Blood is for closers only. Put the ivy down.
He's definitely a Ventru.
I'm gonna play this Freddy clip, and then we've been talking for over 2 hours. I appreciate you guys more than you ever would know. I'm always nervous about doing these new streams. That's why I did this in the safety of Patreon first before we go public with this.
And what do you think? What are the chances?
Some secret friend shit right there, yeah.
The Harvey Fierstein v. Harvey Keitel is pretty fucking hilarious.
Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Fierstein, that's solid gold, man.
This is hilarious.
Careers have been made on less.
Conan, Cindy used to always confuse Tyler Perry and Steven Tyler.
Not by sight, just by hearing the name.
Yeah. She was horrible with that, I mean, the Harvey thing made me remember that. I was like, oh yeah, that was something that was kind of fun.
I mean, like it would be like a Parent Trap, kind of like where they swap personalities. Tyler Perry and
really
Steven
Freaky
Tyler.
Friday.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Matthew,
Tyler Perry fronting Aerosmith. Steven Tyler doing, Medea does Dallas or whatever.
Medea's walked this way.
He already looks like an old lesbian, so hey, fuck it. He looks like the cool mom that would let you smoke pot. And I say that someone doesn't care about smoking pot. What would you do
if you saw?
Doesn't got a gun. Okay. Well.
Tell me you wouldn't be in tears, even if it was like a 30-minute skit, watching those two real people, not people. No, Medea.
Looks like.
That's it. That's the one. We found it. The pinnacle. Medea's dude looks like a lady. Thank you, Jeremy. Yes.
That's the low-hanging fruit, really.
Yeah, that was the open shot. Took it, swish.
And they don't all need to be franchises. It's okay to be a 5-minute skit,
Yeah, that's right.
Because you can't make a whole movie out of that. You'd be like, man, this fucking joke sucks. But 20 minutes, I'd laugh so hard I'd fart.
Oh, yeah.
It was my first big rock concert. Did your dad have a
Run DMC bringing them back, or was that
Oh
that
God!
If
you went to go see Aerosmith done with mirrors, one of your parents has an I Rock a Z.
I actually used to think that Steven Tyler was in Run DMC. That's what I didn't know anything about them. Because the video was my first introduction to both of them. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the white guy that's in the rap group. Yeah.
See, I had rock and roll parents. So I was like, why aren't they playing combination instead? I get it. I had an outsized experience, sure.
No, it was
I had rock and roll parents too. This Aerosmith, I don't think I ever saw the guy. I don't know.
But look, okay,
I had my mom was rock and roll, but my dad was like
a little bit country. Sorry, thank you, Jason. Jinx
he would say stuff like he was like 4 years ago. It was like, have you ever heard of Little Richard? I'm like, Dad, that was like
He's a black beauty.
he's an amazing. No, and like he would find something. He was like, do you know about this Patsy Cline? I was like, Dad, it is like fucking 2003, and you're trying to tell me on the fucking Patsy Cline. What is wrong with you? He's like, Patsy Cline is a voice.
Better than Jackal with a Y.
Richard is a genius.
If you're feeling sad, and play Patsy Cline. I don't care who you are, where you're from. You could be
pretty sad.
Patsy Cline.
It's pretty sad, but like Patsy Cline was talented. But my dad is like, has anyone ever heard of Patsy Cline? It's like she's like a famous musician, Dad.
And then you showed him a picture of Jessica Lange. Took you a while to get that one.
You ever heard of this record, Done with Mirrors by Aerosmith? I think it's by Tyler Perry. Really good.
That's for the music night show. Is Done with Mirrors truly the comeback record for Aerosmith? That's the question. And if anybody answers that question, then you frighten me. You know too much about cock rock.
Oh man, first song, Let the Music Do the Talking. Okay.
Saw Aerosmith again in '94, and Collective Soul opened for them. Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
God damn it! I'm thinking about Aerosmith and Tyler Perry, and then Aerosmith that was like one of the first Aerosmith videos I saw was from the Done with Mirrors because it was on Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, that was back before even the comeback with the very unwoke dude looks like a lady on the next one.
What's so funny?
Which actually, your dad would probably like, what? The dude does look like a lady.
Exactly. What's an ugly woman?
Yeah, exactly. It's a callback.
As he says it to Steven Tyler. I thought it was an ugly woman.
What's the big deal?
These days.
A friend of mine was in Hawaii and Steven Tyler helped him change a tire. Totally serious.
That's
Steven Tyler, not Tyler Perry.
Are you sure it was Steven Tyler, not Tyler Perry? Did you guys see in the Oscars where Tyler Perry got an award? And I turned to Lindsay at the time and I was like, they gave him that because they knew he's never going to get it on merit, but he's like a good dude. Like he gives a lot of money to charity and does it. Like, let's just give him an Oscar. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. What are they worth these days? Just hand them out.
Well, he did play an iconic role as Baxter Stockman in the Turtles movie. So
was that Tyler Perry?
Yeah, he was Baxter Stockman.
Fuck out of here! Serious?
You're making shit up, man.
I think he was. Wasn't he in the? Wasn't he a Starfleet officer in one of the new JJ Star Treks?
Oh, was he?
Tyler Perry's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
in Star Trek back in the day. I'm trying to confuse him with the guy that was in Spencer for Hire. That was in Star Trek. Spencer.
Avery Brooks. No, come on. That's Avery Brooks is a real thespian. Tyler Perry is just an entertainer.
I typed in Tyler Perry Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the first thing I saw was a Quora that says, "Did Tyler Perry make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?" There's no hope for humanity.
Okay, yeah, he was an admiral. Thank you, Jeremy.
But no, seriously, is Tyler Perry in Ninja Turtles? Because I don't believe you.
He's Dr. Baxter Stockman in the second of the new school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There you go. I knew it was that.
Steven.
I was thinking of the cartoon. I was thinking of
Perry.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is not.
No, he was in the movie. He was in the movie.
If I could license Music Choice Fantastic, I would definitely end this show with Oh Sherry.
I think I say Teenage Mutant Tyler Perry.
Because we should have been gone a long time ago.
Thanks for coming, folks. Tip your bartender. Try the veal.
Oh, God.
Here it comes. Oh, my God. Should have been gone.
I actually really like Oh Sherry. And
Me too.
Did you know Journey?
Bring it back. Sorry.
Is that?
I was just going to say, listening to O'Sherry brings me right back to playing with G.I. Joes in my backyard. It was like, what was it, 82, 83? I don't remember exactly when, but
82.
That was the soundtrack. One of those songs that evokes playing with 3-inch action figures in the backyard is Oh Sherry for sure.
Hold on. Hold on.
That was Snake Eyes singing a Scarlet. In my world, he could sing.
It is a trip to think that Journey had their own video game, right? I mean, isn't that wild?
Yeah, with the guitars and I remember that.
What are we gonna do with this video game? Put a guitar in it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Neil his face
is a guitar player as well. That is a very good musician. I haven't heard any of his work, but apparently he's like an up and coming, like Wolfgang Van Halen, who is going on tour with Guns N' Roses. Nepotism like a motherfucker, huh?
How does the other bassist feel about that?
Yeah, isn't it like Tommy Stinson or something? Like, is he
in
just
Van
done?
Halen? In Van Halen?
In Buckethead's Guns N' Roses. Although he's out now, huh? It's not
Buckethead Guns N' Roses.
No, he's been gone. But through music, I am friends with the singer of Buckethead's band.
But Tommy Stinson from The Replacements was playing in Guns N' Roses for a very long time.
Wow.
A lot of people played.
Did you not know that?
I did
from the fucking Replacements.
Back to the original line without Adler. Adler isn't in it because
he's too busy playing Adler's Ashes or whatever it's called.
He's too busy playing the heroin. That's a hard instrument to put down for that guy. I mean, he couldn't stop getting.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, that's all we got time for, folks.
I can keep going. I'll bring it back.
Wow, Tommy Stinson was in Guns N' Roses longer than he was a replacement.
That's what I'm saying.
Least
likely. That sounds like when you're like hanging out with your friends and you're like doing like, but what if so and so? What if Alice Cooper led Fugazi? Okay. But like you come up with these ideas of like it's like a fantasy league bands or whatever. It's like, what if Tommy Stinson played in GNR? What then?
Wait a minute. But you know how Marvel is releasing their What If series? We have to do a What If. If we have to figure out how to get Andrew J. World to draw the What If bands and the What If movies. So what if
it does have a real Superman fighting the Hulk feel to it, doesn't it? These conversations.
That shit would be fucking hilarious.
Who would win?
Cooper in front of Fugazi.
There's a whole genre of YouTube video based on who would win. Which it goes back, I think, to the History Channel. Used to have a TV show where it was like, this week on the History Channel, we'll find out who would win, a samurai or a member of the Viet Cong. And then it's like,
oh yeah, I saw that.
You see that shit? It's like, we check out the Viet Cong. It's like, but the samurai.
Meanwhile, someone time traveling here from 20 years ago is like, what does this have to do with history?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, the one with the Viet Cong, it would win an SS officer or the Viet Cong because it's got to have Nazis in it. Yeah. I think the samurai one was who would win, a musketeer or a samurai?
Right. While he's reloading, he would charge up. And, Love it.
Well,
he's so much.
So much good shows. This is basically the problem. As I run the graduate program here in Missouri State, so I have a lot of older students who they want to come back and they want to study here. And most of them are fine, but a lot of them I have to explain. It's like, look, we don't just do Romans and Nazis, right? You have to do other things. We do,
For fuck's sake, include Carthage. I mean, come on, mix it up a little bit.
They're like, I really like Romans and I really like Nazis. I was like, I don't think you want to phrase it like that, but I know what you mean.
It's like the Star Trek, the original series concept of history. Like, it's either gladiators or Nazis.
Nazis,
Which dudes can you fist fight better?
Nazis.
Which ones can William Shatner deck easily?
You guys right now are making me laugh so hard. I have a bit of a headache and I have to go do dad shit. So here we're watching.
Life Force, don't front.
You thought you killed me. Freddy Krueger will never die. I'm closer than you think. Just a phone call away. Dial this number and prepare to be scared. And I'm
ask your parents.
Around. everywhere. So dial this number now if you dare. Join the Freddy Fan Club. Freddy Krueger has a special message just for you.
Heavy reverb on the Freddy impersonator. That's a heavy reverb.
What a fucked up thing though when you think about it. You're like, dude, why the fuck would I want to call this scary ass fucking number?
Yeah.
I can tell you, it was like a Ponzi scheme.
I'm Freddy Krueger, and you're invited to my special get-together. But beware, you may never leave. Dial this number now. I've got some grisly details for you. And if you're one of my lucky callers selected at random, you'll talk to me live while you're awake. And
how many dudes do you think were just baiting to this?
Freddy Krueger is waiting just for you.
Do you have another story to tell us?
30 each additional minute.
Say, I would not think of spackling the ceiling to Freddy Krueger personally, but maybe I'm a bit of an outlier.
Sorry.
Not how I roll, man.
If you do, please. I actually got in trouble for calling that number. I must have run up, I don't know, $60, $70. And in the early 90s, that was like, I was in deep shit. Because all it is like...
Did you have the glove in the one hand while you had the phone?
Yeah, it's hard because I'm not a lefty, but I put the glove on the right. But it was literally like, and then call me back tomorrow to find the next sentence. Like it literally would string you along.
Oh.
It was like, she was lying in bed and then call me back tomorrow. Like, and everything.
Like a dick.
Yeah, so you had to call like all 5 days to get the full story. And yeah, I was
like the world's lamest takeoff on Punch Drunk Love.
Damn.
Basically, Adam Sandler is Freddy Krueger.
Hold on.
I've often thought it.
Hold on. I want to do this before we go because now you guys at this now. You're reminding me of this, and I have to show this to you, and I'll stop.
Sorry,
shit. Can you hear that?
You lady.
Can you hear that? Wait a minute. Hold on, and started playing too quick. Oh my God. Hold on.
Well, guys, I'll just say in this blank space, this has been very fun for me. So thank you for having me.
Yes.
I
enjoyed
my time.
You had a good time, and I'm glad to know that your theme song, I was afraid that your theme song was one of those things where like, I fucking hate Metallica.
No. Love Metallica. Pace and I came up with Metallica.
I'll props to Jason Pace. Solid fucking dude. One of the reasons to be on Twitter, I think.
So
definitely. And Instagram.
You've moved up so many rungs of entertaining in my world now that you are a fellow fan of all things heavy. As Conan tell you. You know what? I'll tell you off air about some shit that I heard about this whole Megadeth drama.
Well, the scene in Some Kind of Monster is all I need to see. The therapy with Lars and Dave.
Hold up. Before we go.
Hour 7, Metallica, Some Kind of Monster.
I'm a huge Megadeth fan. I love those first 4 records.
Hello, me.
I think Mustaine, I think he makes those early couple Metallica records. His riffing.
Jump in the fire.
Seems like kind of a douche nozzle, but anyway. That scene in Some Kind of Monster, I actually cried in the theater. I went to see that in the theater. And I cried in the theater.
I just miss my little Danish buddy.
I know. I feel so bad for them all.
Felt horrible. Then being at the studio, finding out like real stories behind that story is even more insane. But here's one I can tell on camera. If you watch Some Kind of Monster, at the end, when Robert Trujillo gets the job, you see the clothes he's wearing, and you're like, why are you wearing your older brother's clothes? Robert Trujillo, watch it again. He's wearing clothes that they look like they're a very large man's clothes. And you're like, why are you wearing this guy's clothes? Apparently, he was not expecting to get that job. He is friends with. Do you remember Fungo Mungo, Conan?
Yes.
Jeff Combs from Fungo, who was also in Merv.
Yeah.
Toured
Merv, the Deli Creeps, that whole.
Yep. So if you know Jeff Gomes toured with Merv, toured with who's the guy from Alice in Chains? Still alive, plays the guitar real good.
Jerry Keeper. No, Jerry Cantrell. There you go.
Jerry Cantrell had a band with Trujillo and Mike Borden playing drums. They recorded that at Soundwave in Faith No More studio. So they went on tour. Merv went on tour. He knows Trujillo very well. So when Trujillo got the call to go, hey, Metallica wants to bring you back, he didn't think he was going to stay, so he only had clothes for that day. So those are like Jeff Gomes' clothes, who was a very large man.
Wow. Okay.
He says, yeah, that's why you see Robert Trujillo. He's wearing my clothes. I was like, oh, that makes sense because he looks like a dad.
Yeah. He just looked like he was like working on cars or something and like showed up and like, all right, I guess I'm a Metallica now.
Yeah, Gomes was like Trujillo and wasn't expecting that. I thought that's
Meanwhile,
one story.
James Hetfield's like running around like racing around his like 1920s Roadster and like I can only work a half day, and fucking Lars's dad is being like, if it was my choice, I would say delete that about their new record, which is like one of the finest moments in cinema as far as I'm concerned. Because first of all,
because we
Lars's
all
dad,
are thinking what he's thinking.
Yeah, the audience was thinking that, and and it's like what they're playing is like the worst Sigur Rós ripoff bullshit. It's like some dude screaming in a hallway, and it's just like clearly and obviously bullshit. And like Lars's dad just fucking spills the tea immediately, and we are all the audience being like, "Yes, Lars's dad, you are correct. They should delete that."
Like, I'm glad you're getting emotionally healthy, but it didn't do any help to your music. So thanks and goodbye.
And that's one of the worst just heavy metal records of all time. I did not like it as a heavy metal record. Didn't like it.
It's not great.
I wanted to like it so bad. I tried to like that record. I tried. I would listen to it. I was like, me? No.
Was that Saint Anger?
Yep, Stanger.
So that has one of the weirdest, most fucked up snare sounds of any record I've heard in my entire life. And some internet genius took the snare drum from Saint Anger and put it to Master of Puppets.
Oh, why would you do that?
Because it is fucking hilarious. Because it's like, so all the snare drums
311 snare sound.
Yeah, it's so much more clear just how dog shit that whole snare sound is when they're there. And so, another caveat, I got to play that for Crover, who's never heard Saint Anger. I was like, okay, so here's what you need to know. This is what the snare sounds like. He's like, haha. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. That's what it's on a record. I was like, wow. And then I played him that. That was awesome.
Wow. Apparently
he didn't believe me. I thought I was fucking around. I was like, I'm not fucking around.
They take the bottom off the snare. There's a dude on YouTube, but I can't think of his name, and he plays Metallica albums in the style of other Metallica albums. So imagine Master of Puppets, but in the style of And Justice for All.
So like no bass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Very high tinny bass drum.
Mm-hmm.
It's kill them all, but done as hardwired to self-destruct or whatever.
I'd hear that.
He does all that. It's some of it's actually kind of interesting. Like he does Master of Puppets as Ride the Lightning, because those are pretty distinct tones on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like one isn't like objectively better, but they're different sounding records. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them all.
They're interesting. What his take on and Justice for All, but sounding like Master of Puppets was kind of amazing.
I've listened to the And Justice for Jason online, where somebody took the Bandcamp bass lines and tried to amp them back up.
Love it.
Or played a few themselves. I'm with that.
No, I love that. And apparently from people I know that were there during those sessions, Jason Newsted turned in a masterful performance.
Yeah. I mean, apparently what they gave to Bandcamp or whatever it is, Rock Band, is his actual tracks for the 3 or 4 that they got from there. So you can tell from those.
Alco's is the past. Echo Brain is the future. High comedy. I love that movie. I'm sorry. That's
Newsted might play in Megadeth. There's rumors because Ellison's out.
That'd be the ultimate fuck you to the whole.
At a bar, I think I've heard a story to Conan before. At a bar in Concord, California, I forget the name of the bar. It was a little shit bar. Exodus was. Who was the other? Was it a Lamore? Yes, it was a Lamore show. This is when Exodus was playing before Bailoff died. So Bailoff's back in the band. You know, everybody, no one's doing shit, right? This is the new metal era when everybody's got the spiky hair. So a bunch of old schoolers come out to this show. I just wanted to see Exodus live at a bar, and Jason Newsted shows up, not on the bill. And this is when Newsted had just joined Voivod.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he brought Voivod to do a surprise, like 45 minutes or so, like about an hour, 45 minutes at this Exodus concert. That was one of the dopest things I've ever seen. I actually dig Voivod. I don't know if you guys are Voivod fans.
I like the Percy Beaver in like fucking Pittsburgh, California or something, you know.
What was the name? It was called something Bar and Grill. It was something Bar and Grill in Concord, if you remember that spot.
No, I remember. I'm trying to forget. Let me tell you.
98. It was like 98. Whatever year that was. No, 2000 something. This whatever year that was when Newsted had joined Voivod. But I just remember he walked up, and it was such an old school crowd. And I don't know if you ever hung out in the Bay Area, Matthew, but if you hung out in the Bay Area metal scene with the old school dudes, there actually is a lot of camaraderie between those people. I will say that. So when Newsted walked up, there was no rock star air about him. He literally like knew all 100 people that were there. Nice. And no one knew he was coming through. And then he brought Piggy was still alive in Voivod. So it was like one of the dopest things I'd ever seen. And I was like, oh, this is something I can only see in this area.
Lars's dad would not say delete that. Lars's dad would approve.
Lars's dad would have been a fan. So I want to play this because this made me laugh really hard, and I'm really gonna go away. I promise.
Sam, are you a good kisser?
Yeah, I think I'm a good kisser. Oh, I think. From what I've heard, from what I've been told, the feedback I've gotten is you're a great kisser. You're a good kisser. You kiss good.
Call 1-900-909-3300 and hear it straight from Corey. $2 for the first minute, 45 cents for each additional minute. Call 1-900-909-3300.
Call me, 1-900-909-3300. It's very important. I have a lot to tell you guys. Please call me.
Do you remember that?
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
That was not marketed to me as much as the Freddie one was.
Corey Haim, a Canadian actor.
Yeah, he was from Vancouver.
Let's face it, the more talented of the two Corys, but you know, the light that burns twice as bright.
I watched that behind the music where that dude was so high he couldn't talk. Have you seen that one where he was take the muscle relaxers and they were asking him questions? He went, yeah. It's like, oh, fuck.
Brutal.
That was very, very sad. Well, thank you guys for spending some time with me today.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys. Conan, I got vaccinated, so sooner than later we're gonna see each other and hug.
Do it.
Matthew, are you guys in the Bay Area right now? Is that where we're talking from?
No, I'm from Oakland, but I live in Milwaukee now. But Jason plays in the live band of my band sometimes, and since it looks like there's the possibility for live shows to happen again and not be like super spreader events, you know, and at least next
always
year.
Plus.
Yeah. That is going to be a thing that like a part of my life that's going to get to reactivate that has been dormant for about a year and 3 months now.
Fantastic.
And Conan is we're both guys that spend entirely too much time in vans on the road. So.
Awesome.
I don't spend enough, frankly, but yeah. Your mileage may vary.
Well, if you guys want to do a cover of "For Whom the Bell Tolls" or I was in a cover band with Pace in high school. We did like a Knocking on Heaven's Door, The Wave of Mutilation by the Pixies, Crazy Train. Any of those, I'm there. I'll back you up. Otherwise, I'll just watch.
Except for the solos, once you nail the main riff, it's fine. But I love going. I used to go to the Guitar Center and hear people like, da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na, and they would like get like like 2 measures in and be like, up. Torture.
Or the guy that's just learning how to play Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. Worst. That guy's the worst. All those guys are the worst. That's why.
YouTube fans now. Yeah.
But I also now I can't wait to walk into a Guitar Center. But I hate Guitar Center.
You're someone
but I
just
look forward to walking into it.
Plane Smells Like Teen Spirit and like, half a step out of tune on like one of the
Hey, our cover band played "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Did you hear Phoenix says good night, guys?
Oh, good night,
Oh,
Phoenix.
good night, sweetie.
Good night, Phoenix.
Jeremy asked what movie to watch on Sunday for movie night. I say Black Bear, which was one of my favorite movies of last year, Matthew Film Guy.
Wow. Thank you for
really
name checking that right under the wire. Yeah, Black Bear was.
I think we should.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I think we should
check it out. Black Bear with Aubrey Plaza. I may have had a hand
watch it for film night. Actually, I think it would be a good one for film night.
I'm in. Let's do it.
What'd you say? What'd you say? We watch Matthew's movie for film night.
Can we?
I mean,
we got to get.
Well, it's my movie in the same sense that this is your podcast. I was the editor, but it's still the impulse is appreciated.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be
I
that
collaborated
about it, though. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you actually wrote it and directed it.
Sometimes I feel like I did, but no. Larry Levine, very talented gentleman who's made a couple other indie films, all recommendable. But we got to work on that just before the world went to hell. So it was a real treat, and I think it came out great. I'm really proud of it. So it's a bit of a mind fuck. So go in with an open mind and just go on a ride with a couple of great actors.
Is it on Amazon?
It's it's on still pay-per-view certain places, like a video on demand as they call it these days.
So it's on what do you call it? Apple. I can buy it from Apple.
You can get there. I think you can get it on YouTube. All your main sort of video on demand. Maybe your cable company may still have it if you believe in those things still, but it's out there.
Yes, I do believe in cable. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and this will probably go up for everybody else. I'll talk with Gene, and we'll sit down and have some sort of strategy meeting about it.
The strategy meeting. You got it.
Can I just real quick? neutronfriends.bandcamp.com, protonicaversal.com for the podcast, which is not any of the stuff that we discussed, except for maybe some of the music stuff at the end. Because I realize I don't do that when I'm on your show. I don't think about it, and somebody chided me about it. So.
And I don't do anything interesting, so.
Yes, you do. You teach. Not at
the moment. It's summer, so I don't.
It's right there. It's right there. Your Twitter handle. Go follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, where I make a clay cake. Guess what? Glenn Greenwald replied to a tweet of mine, so I think I made it.
Did you call him a name?
I did not call him a name. I just said, he said, like, is healthcare your only priority? I was like, it's kind of an important priority. And I was like, tyrannies give people free healthcare. And then everyone
what about
was
free
like,
speech?
Wow. Well, yeah, but everyone else was like, wow, why can't we go live in some tyrannies and get some healthcare?
Glenn Greenwald said tyranny.
We already have the tyranny.
We live in freedom. We live in freedom.
Since we are essentially talking about nerd stuff, I busted loose this Poster Children minifig set featuring former guest of this show, Rick Valentin. And I thought that was kind of a cool little merch item that they did. And I've had that staring at me like the entire time, and I figured I finally bring it up contextless for no reason.
I've got some Stargrave mercenaries. Check that out right here.
Everyone's got a tchotchke.
All right, guys. We are out.